All right, let's see what's going on here. You guys should be able to see my chat. And what we're gonna do today, we always do labs on Sundays, so we're gonna work through some labs, talk about getting the job and stuff. We're gonna do fisherman's labs today, so if you guys haven't ever tried these ones, I'm gonna link the labs to you as we kind of go here. So anybody that wants to follow along, here are the labs that we're working on today, over on the Twitch side and on the YouTube side. And maybe I'll move this around a little bit, but this will probably work for now. And here's our theme is junior sysadmin stuff. Like, where's the work coming from? What are we doing? That kind of stuff. Also, today's my birthday, so that's kind of fun. We had a pretty big party last night here. Maybe I'll pull some pictures up and stuff for you guys later. But we're gonna start out with some junior sysadmin stuff. So what does your work look like, right? So this one, his are always fisherman's labs are always a little bit. I want to say combative, but it's more like he makes you think through things. So we're going to look at some of this stuff. Yeah, Akshanya, thanks for that. I do appreciate the old happy birthdays there. But it says, welcome to your first adventure as a junior Linux sysadmin. So you think you got what it takes to start your career as a Linux guy, right? That's what we all want to do. That's what I think most of you can do. So we'll see about that. Work your way through the challenges and see how far you can progress. There's hints if you must, but don't cheat. Your understaffed team and close to retirement manager are counting on you, so that's pretty funny. Here's our objectives. So this one is fix the user issues and close out problem tickets. That's where a lot of your work is going to come from, so it's good. Troubleshoot errors based on poor end user descriptions. That's huge. That happens probably more than you think. The server's acting funny, and you're like, what's it doing? Telling jokes? That's not. And then learn about common junior sysadmin tasks and have fun, right? I don't think he necessarily cares if you have fun, but he did put as one of the objectives. And then some skills. You need to know the basics of Linux, at least be able to move around inside of a shell, and that kind of stuff. And then there's some hints to help us out. Also, they've since he originally made these, they've added in some things that'll help you a little more. But the first one is user forgot their password. This is common. Users, and I don't ever change my passwords on a Thursday or Friday either, because you can forget your password over the weekend. So after a long weekend, one of the newer developers returned and forgot their password. His name is Bob Blursky. Classic Bob move. We need to reset his password so that he can get back to whatever it is that he does, right? He's just some developer out there. Let's set his password to temp123 so he can update it later. His username on the system is bblursky. So, okay. So how do we set Bob Blursky's password? So ID B Blursky. Let's make sure he's on the system. We got some information from a trouble ticket. Some user, maybe a manager came over. They sent an email. First thing I would do is make sure that's actually his username, right? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You can also grab B Blursky from Etsy Pass WD and see, okay, that is B Blursky. That's the user, maybe user ID that we expect. And then it says, let's change his password to temp123. Well, we need to know the command for that. So maybe, hey, Wiggly Mittens, how's it going? Yeah. Yeah, we hit 5K in Discord yesterday. And then we're at, I don't know, 5,002 or something. So I need to push that number up a little bit so that it doesn't keep flipping over. But I think Fisherman said he fixed the bot, so it's not gonna give too many problems. So, hey, Northern Chimp, how's it going? Actually, I could pull this up a little bit so you guys can actually see your chat down here. But yeah, so the user forgot his password. What's going on here, right? We're gonna fix his password. So there's a set of commands in the system that'll help you work on user things, and one of the passwords, or one of the commands that we use, is passwd. So passwd, maybe -h, and it'll tell us a little bit about what we need to do here. But it says password options, or passwd options, and then the login that we want to change, right? So we can go look at stuff. We can lock accounts. We can unlock accounts. They didn't say anything about his account being locked out, any of that kind of stuff. They just said to change his password. So we can say passwd bblursky, because we know that's the user login. And then the new password, we want to set it to as temp123, and then temp123, right? And then typically, if we were going to do this, we would send an out-of-band communication to them, maybe through like Teams or Slack, and say, hey, this is your temp password, go ahead and change it, right? Like, don't leave it as this password, right? You can also set passwords to be required to be changed, those kind of things. You can basically do that. But the most important thing typically is that you don't send this through the system, because obviously the user's not on the system to check it, so you got to send this out of band. But anyways, here's our hint. If we wanted to look at our hint, and it says, listen, Junior, this is an easy one. Check out the passwd command. So we change the user's password. We hit check here, and it says that we successfully did it. So that's cool. All right, we got that first part done. Also, when I get on a system, if I was trying to fix Bob Blurski's access, he might not know if he forgot his account. So one of the things you might have to do is maybe go grep for B Blurski in var log. In this case, it's what do they use? They use syslog and where's their actual their security stuff isn't varlog secure. They use authlog. So varlog auth.log. I might look for B Blurski type activity to see that he's actually locked himself out or that he's been trying to do his password or whatever. What I'm seeing here is that his password has changed, which is what I just did. So that's fine. How safe is that to be able to change from one command without needing an additional password? Well, Wiggly, I'm already the root user, so that's okay. But typically in most organizations, you can't be the root user unless you sudo up. You have to typically jump around as a normal user. Also, this user, let's change PS1 just so everybody can see, because I know this sometimes gets people. My PS1 variable should be, let's put this down. It really should be this, right? When we look at a PS1 variable, paste that. Mine really should look like this in this environment, which is fine. I mean, it might confuse some people why I have a $sign, but I am the root user. But yeah, it's and typically, so in the real world, you're typically not going to be setting users' passwords on individual Linux systems. That's very much one-off. You would almost always say, hey, this has to go to the identity and access management team, because when I go look at the user, typically he's going to not be authenticated to my system, but my system is almost always going to be trusting something up higher, like some kind of LDAP schema. So I can't change the user's password on local machines anyways. It doesn't make any sense. But this is assuming kind of that you're doing like this assumes right here that you're kind of doing what we call local user logins, but that's not going to be very common in the industry. Maybe in like a test environment when you're messing around. Yeah, Kshunya, this is a little early for me, but I mean, this is typically when I try to stream on Sundays if I'm going to. So yeah, I'm get up a little early and do these, yeah. Because the wife's heading over to church, and then it's my birthday, so I'm just kind of hanging out today. And then probably in a couple hours when she gets home, we're just going to hang out for most of the day. So we've had people in town, and then we had a party last night, so it's like chill day today for us. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Okay, so now this next one, so we're still in here, we're still junior sysadmin. We completed some tasks, we put the relevant information into the trouble ticket, let them know, hey, B Blurski should be good, feel free to open the ticket if there's any more problems, right? Or respond to this ticket if you need to reopen it, right? That's typically what a lot of these tools are. There's tools out there, by the way, that are like free that people use. There's one called OTRS. Right, and this is an open source one, and it works pretty well. I believe that's open source, but there's paid for versions of it as well. Let's see, is it still? I'm pretty sure there's still. I'm pretty sure this is originally. I'm pretty sure it's originally open source. Yeah, there's a community edition of this. Yeah, I thought so. And then it's just a help desk system for keeping track of things that are going on inside of your environment. That's a pretty common one. I use that on some government projects. But anyways, okay, so the next one is the user is using too much storage, right? So Bob Blurski's back at it again. This guy's always causing us problems. He keeps getting alert emails that he's using too much storage in his home directory. He's not sure what's using so much space, as he really isn't working on much, right? He's an admin, or he's an engineer, so he's over there doing software stuff. He opened a ticket to ask us to help removing any excessively large files from his home directory. His usage is supposed to be at 1 gig, so any files larger than 1 gig should be immediately removed. Well, I'll tell you, I would never immediately remove anything for a user. I would always alert them to what's out of sorts. But let's go find out where this user is at. So we know his username is B Blurski. we can see that here, right? And his home directory by default should be /home/bblurski. But we didn't know that until right here where we validated that here's his home directory, right? And we know that because we know the 7 fields of the etcpastwd file, right? You just have to kind of learn that. You have to play with this enough to know what that is. Yeah, Shunya, the HPC course, I'm kind of torn on it because I'm doing one now professionally for work, but I am still going to have an external one where we work through a lot of the same topics and stuff. So that's coming. I've been working on it for a long time. I just haven't ever published it out there for everybody. But yeah, we're gonna get that going here. I need to do that. I also need to add some Kubernetes to it as well. So there's although Kubernetes isn't nearly as prevalent in HPC for research projects, but it's getting there. People are using it more and more. So El Nagar, how's it going? We are going through these labs here, the Fisherman Guybro labs. He's one of our engineers. Actually, he's a solutions architect now, but it's all the same type of thing. But okay, so this guy's having problems in his home directory. So let's cd into his home bblurski, right? And now that we're in the directory, we can see that we're in the directory. We can do all kinds of things. We can see what's going on with the size of this directory, but that doesn't help us with the usage of this directory, right? We're trying to find what's going on in this specific directory. So we might say something like du-sh dot, and we might go, yeah, he's using 5 gigs. He's using a lot of what's available. Yeah, it's definitely going to have something alerting him. And then we might ls in here and see, okay, he's got these different directories. And one of the things I like to do is I like to go du-sh on everything in here, and that will guide me to what's using the most space. So I might go down into cd to family pictures. Now, I really dislike when there's spaces in file system names. I wish they had never instituted that, because look at what the command line has to do to get in there. It's just a hassle. I would never want to script anything with that. But now I'm in here and I say du-sh dot, and I see that this is the 5.1 gigs, and maybe I do an ls-lh, and I see that there's one file in here that's all 5 gigs. Well, they said that we could remove it for them, so they said that we could like get rid of it, but really I would probably take this information and send it up to the user and say, hey, in this directory, this file is 5 gigs, you probably should remove it. Because again, I don't like to be the one, even though I'm the root user and I can do whatever I want, I don't like to be the one that deletes stuff for a user. It's much better to, it's kind of like if you go, you know, a little kid comes to you every day, you know, maybe one of your nieces or nephews or your kid, and they're always asking you to tie their shoes, and you tie their shoes their whole life. That's not going to be useful for them, like, eventually. What's better in my mind is like show them how you tie the shoes maybe a few times, and then help them do it, and then now like they don't need you anymore, right? They don't need you to help them tie their shoes. And that's the kind of thing with users too. Like, man, users will frustrate you so much as a systems guy, because you're like, oh, this guy can't get it, but really we want to teach them how to clean up their own crap, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Hey, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Atticus, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, it is my birthday today. Big 4-5. That's always fun. Yeah, teach a man to fish. Don't give him yeah, like, and even if you have to give him a couple fishes, but then you go teach him how to fish so he doesn't have to hang out with you forever. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, yeah, so I'm streaming early because then me and the wife are gonna hang out later. Also, I might have told you guys this the other day. We just watched that movie Obsession. We went on Friday afternoon, like, and it's kind of funny because they were making fun of me down in the Discord. They're like, apparently nobody else wants to see that movie. I'm like, we were early at 2 o'clock. It got okay busy in the theater. That movie, it's not bad. It's not. I mean, if you like horror, right? If you don't like horror, I wouldn't advise going and seeing that. But if you do like horror and you don't want to watch something that's exactly the same as everything else, I think they did a pretty good job. So, yeah, thanks, Atticus. And then El Nagar, yep, thank you for the happy birthday. It is my birthday. So let's clean up this guy's. We're just going to go ahead and do the work that it asks for, but I'm gonna advise highly in the real world that you don't just go deleting things from users. Maybe if you have backups, that's okay, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, and I really like. It's funny that the guy who directed that, I think he's only like 26, but I was watching him. I saw some stuff with the director. And I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. Well, he was in an episode of It's Always Funny in It's Always Sunny, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you guys have ever seen that show, the one where they go to like their little Chuck E. Cheese type place. He's the guy that's trying to get them to sign the waivers to get in, and they're like blowing him off and not listening to him and stuff. So, oh man, thanks for that, Boris. Yeah, I don't even know what a super wish is, but hopefully that, or a super chat or whatever. I don't even know what that is on YouTube, but that's cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. May all my dreams come true. Yeah, we had, I need to put some stuff up in the Discord for you guys, but we basically just had like a big game truck come over, and then the kids all go out there. Here, I'll put some pictures up for you guys. I'll pull them up here. Where's this at? Hold on, I'll do it as off topic. I'll put it in off topic. I'll pull this up here in a second on the thing, but I'll post some pictures for you. Also, Pico came over. Pico doesn't come over very often. Pico's never been to my house, but he and I have known each other for about 6 years from work. Hold on, let me post some stuff with, I'll do this one and that one. I'll get those up so you guys can watch some videos. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And then I'll post some pictures here of like the game truck, that party stuff, and then some of the guys playing the arcades. I'll post those up too. All right, I'll pull this up real quick. Up to Grain the Home Lab with some Shunya, I definitely have a plan for that. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. In fact, I mentioned it the other day. My buddy Sam was in town. Yeah, my buddy Sam just left. He's doing the Phoenix Fan Fusion out here. He's the guy that does all my artwork in my house. And yeah, it's for sure. Yeah, sure. Speak for everyone. Yeah. Well, that's the goal, Boris, is get people doing Linux, right? Getting people doing this. Here, I'll pull it up. You guys can see some of the party last night, if anybody wants to see what it looked like here. I'm not gonna post a picture of Pico because he's a pretty private guy, but I'll show you guys what the party looked like last night. So this is the Epic Game Truck out front. When they pull up, they can get about 30 kids in there. Oh, you know what? I might have a picture inside of it too. I don't always take pictures inside of it, but I have all these drift trikes. I'll show you guys those here in a second. This was one of the kids out on the drift trike. These are the drift trikes right here when they're hanging up. And then this one's missing a thing, one of its pedals. So we were only doing 5 last night. Oh, well, and then this one, which is the 6th one, but it's like little for the kids or whatever. And this was not a birthday party. This was like our kickoff start of summer party. This is another one. You can see my truck over here. And then this is us getting ready for the party. I put out a bunch of I have a room that I just use for tables for parties. So we put out the tables when it's party time. And then we give little gifts. These are all little light up things for the kids. So the kids have a bunch of little stuff. It was good, El Nagar. I probably had 45 people over or so. So it was pretty poppin'. All these things light up in annoying ways, so I give them to the kids to annoy the parents later. I think it's hilarious, but I think most everybody has a good time with it. That was our setup for the TV and stuff. Set up for the kitchen area. We have our game stuff over here. We don't do games on those nights because it's just too many people. And then, oh, did I not get? Oh, yeah. And then here's the wife cuts when we put drinks in the cooler. The wife cuts up the boxes so that people know what's in there. I think that's brilliant. And then hold on, these were the guys. So these were some of the guys. Oh, I guess I got the back of Pico's head. Pico's one of these guys, and they were playing. I have an arcade game simulator. So this was the original. If you guys remember the old Simpsons arcade game from the 80s. I know some of you were probably around in the 80s and 90s, but there was this arcade game. I'll show you a video of it here in a second. But I have this in a TV in the back room, so it's not as much out there. But these are jiu-jitsu friends and then kind of older friends and stuff. Here's what that looks like.
All right, we're getting ready for the party tonight. We've got all the chairs up.
This was
and I hooked up
party stuff.
Simpsons arcade.
That's the Simpsons arcade game on an original modded Xbox. If you guys remember the original Xbox from the early 2000s, it's a modded version of it. So I have a bunch of games and stuff on it. So that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, Boris, I put so much. So there, it's actually funny. I'll show you guys right here when the kids are playing it.
That's your coins. You're putting in quarters.
So they have a button. What you're hearing the kids say here is I showed him that there's a button that's basically dropping quarters in the machine. So the emulator is, you're still playing an arcade game like in an arcade. So you basically have to hit the little switch to make yourself have more quarters. So he's showing, this is my nephew Hayden, he's showing the other kids how to put quarters into the machine, because basically you're going to beat that game if you're at my house. You're just going to be able to keep pumping quarters into it. Anyway, so that's what they're doing. He's
That's your
just,
coins you're putting in quarters. Oh look, there goes the crusty balloon. Yep.
yeah, so that's kind of, it was good. The party was good though. Street Fighter, I also have Street Fighter was a big one, and then I remember the first time I ever played Mortal Kombat in an arcade as well, the original Mortal Kombat game. So yeah, that was us playing around last night. And then yeah, the game truck, I didn't mention this, but the game truck, this panel opens up right here on the side, and all the girls were out here playing Dance Dance Revolution. So we had like, even my wife was out there. It was ridiculous. She was being like Dee. Now, most of you guys aren't going to probably get this reference, but there's a show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and there's Dee. She's the tall, skinny woman, and she plays in the Mick, and she's been in some other stuff. She's married to Rob McElhenney, who's the guy who created the show. But she like does this stupid dance where she's like the wacky waving inflatable tube person, and my wife was out there doing it, and she's like, "Look, I'm Dee from whatever." I don't know. Anyways, it was funny. All right, so run our local video store, and they had the arcade. Yeah, dude. I was explaining to people about what a nickel arcade was, because they were like, "Oh, you're that old," and I'm like, No. Arcades always were a quarter. When I was a kid, it was always a quarter to play things. But you could go to a nickel arcade, and what nickel arcades were, you'd get in for $1.50, but then every game was a nickel. So you would just get a bunch of nickels at the front. So I'd go there with like $5. My dad would drop me and my brother off with $5. We'd get in, have $3.50 worth of nickels, which is, what is that? That's like 70 something plays. And me and Steve would just hang out and play. My brother Steve was there last night too as well. So yeah. And that was a modded Xbox, but I also have RetroPies. So I could have put a RetroPie up and had like 10,000 games as well. If you guys haven't been in my environment, well, we're not going to pull it up now, but yeah, go Eagles, right? Yeah, for the Philadelphia. All right, so anyway, so let's get back to this, because this is what I had left off when I started showing you guys all that kind of stuff. But we found his offending large 5 gig file, right? We see it right here. There's the total size, and then there's the file. So if we're going to just go ahead and make the action that, again, I would not advise doing this professionally. I would send back to the user, hey, this is the space that needs to be cleaned up. Go ahead and do it. I'm only going to do it if you send me in this email to clean up this file. That's the only way I would do this. I would not do this normally for a user. I'm just going to say rm-rf xmiss whatever. So I'm going to get rid of his exact video. Now if I look in this directory, nothing there. If I go up a directory to just his home and I do a du-sh, I see that it's not big anymore. It's not out of space. If I do a df-h here, I see that I've got that 5 gigs back. So I should have cleaned up that space for him. And then here's your hint. Try using the du command to look for large files, specifically in his home directory, because that's where his disk quota usage is going to be coming up against. So Philly's your home. Nice. Yeah, and there's an episode where they moved to the suburbs, if you remember, where they throw the spaghetti at the wall or whatever. But yeah, I actually, one of our guys in our Discord, King Buns, he came out here. He was out here a few weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And I've got like a beanbag chair up here. And when he was working, he'd come hang out up here. I'd be working on my systems, and he'd be hanging out in my beanbag chair. And I have this monitor over here on the left that I can turn. And I would just turn it, and I was just showing him I think we got through the first couple seasons of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be watching this crap now. Because they're the worst people on the planet, but it's such a funny show. Anyway, so we got that. Let's check it. Should say that we cleaned up his space. Okay, cool. And then now Bob, man, this guy Bob Blursky, you're gonna find, and I actually like that he kept using the same name, because this is a great example of what we like to call the Pareto rule. If you guys have never heard of the Pareto rule or the Pareto principle, it's that 80% of your work comes from 20% of the users, or 80% of your issues come from 20% of your inputs, or the way that it's stated is 80% of outcomes come from 20% of inputs. Mainly the complainers cause the most work. So you're the garbage man. Dude, I love that show. I could just have Always Sunny on in the background. So yeah. That's pretty funny. All right, so we got this B Blurski guy, and he's got some problems. He's always got problems, but as a new users are going to have more problems than other users. That's true because they're probably going to be inheriting rules, and identity and access management teams don't always know what rules and permissions to give users. So in this case, ever do LVM and virtual? Yeah. Are you talking about like logical volume management systems? Yeah, I do a little bit. I show people how to do it in, I think, like Unit 3. So the problem out here in Killer Coda, I've asked them before if we could get some more block devices so that, like I said, hey, I've asked them in Slack before, can you just give us 3 small little disks in maybe an environment, like a one-off environment, and then I can do some LVM stuff with the guys? And they told me, no, we don't have any plans to ever do that. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. So it's funny. Well, hold on. So it's funny. So Chingo Opa said, happy birthday. Are they going to Shark Tank me? There's a 10 a.m. open, Matt. And that's in about an hour and a half. I'd have to get off of here about an hour and go take a shower and go. If I go, they are going to Shark Tank the shit out of me because it's my birthday. But I'm also, I've been a black belt for 5.5, almost 6 years. So I can defend myself pretty well. But at least 3 of the guys there are also going to be black belts. So they're going to so Shark Tank's going to wear you down no matter what. If you guys don't know, you don't get a break. It's like basically an hour of wrestling with no break. And it's like, do I really want to do that on my 45th birthday, or do I just want to go and hang out? Now, I could go and not tell people it's my birthday, but I have a feeling 1 or 2 of them are going to figure it out and tell everybody. And we have a pretty good, sized jiu-jitsu group. So, I mean, there's probably 20, 25 people there on a Sunday. So, I don't know. So anyways, yeah, I was thinking of just ditching today, but maybe we'll get over there. Yeah, we have, shoot, man, our 5 a.m. class sometimes gets up to 40 people, which is, anybody that knows jiu-jitsu, well, anybody that knows anything about sports or whatever, getting 40 people in the gym at 5 a.m. is pretty hard to do. And we have a pretty stable group, especially Monday mornings. So, but at least, I guess if I go in there and get my ass kicking now, I won't have to get it later on in the week. Because when they find out it was my birthday, they're going to Shark Tank me. So yeah, again, for people that don't know, Shark Tanks just mean they basically just abuse you for, some people call it a gauntlet. It's all terrible. But it's jiu-jitsu and it's wrestling and it's fun. And I can mostly defend myself, but I can't defend myself against being tired. So that's always fun. So, okay, let's look at this user, right? Enough of the asides, but update user access. So the user submitted a ticket. He can't create files in the app's finance directory. Okay, that gives us the location, like the where, right? And we know the user is B Blurski, but he hasn't worked on this new project yet, so it's not really, he doesn't really know what he needs. So we can go start to find that out, right? Project manager doesn't know. He might need to ask for finance devs access, but he doesn't know what that means, and we don't know what that means because we don't set that stuff up, or if we did, it was years ago. So there's some stuff that we can go kind of figure out here about this. First things I would do here, and I haven't even done this in a while, is I would do an ls-ld on apps finance. And I would say, okay, it's owned by root, right? Root is the owner, which is common, and that he gets a permission of 7. It's owned by this, or then the group owner is finance devs, and they've got a 7. And then everybody else has read but no write with execute, meaning they can read the directory and traverse the directory, but they can't go write stuff in there. So that's what Bob Blurski probably needs, is this finance devs. So let's see if he has it. So we ID B Blurski, and some of you might remember from earlier, he's not in that group. So we could add him. So we can do a few things, but it says make necessary updates to grant him access. His username is bblurski to the app's finance directory without changing the permissions on the directory itself. We don't want to change this, and we don't want to change this. We don't want to make it a 777. So let's go ahead and say, well, what if we VI group, and let's go take his name here, and we VI group, Etsy group. Sorry, my bad. And we go to finance, right? And down here, we could just add B Blurski right here, right? And now, if we ID B Blurski, we see that he has that permissions. We can SU to Beblerski. Now we're, who are we? We're Beblerski. We can CD into apps finance. Whoops. They don't have auto, so we'll go in there. And then now if I do touch test file, I did it, no problem. So the user Beblerski now has the ability to write into that directory. Now there's no sticky bit, there's no SUID or GUID bit set, because this would have been a different permission here, meaning instead of being owned by Beblerski, it would have been owned by the finance devs, right? That would have been that permission would have stayed, because then other people could modify his stuff. But that's not how that's created, and that's fine. You can set those bits on the finance directory if you needed to. So that's, by the way, that's much a more common way to share things, because you don't want every user in there creating stuff as their own users. You want them creating stuff where the group ownership of it is the same as the ownership of the group in the directory, which is right here, right? So anyways, there's that kind of stuff. Yeah, thanks for the happy birthday. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Lee, what did you say? You should be able to make a loopback files in order to emulate multiple disks in the same physical storage medium. That's how file system testing is done with FSS tests normally. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Beblerski's like the worst user ever. But this is actually kind of how, I don't know, kind of how it works when we're getting stuff from users. Users are going to ask for this kind of stuff, guys. These are the things they're going to do. If anybody needs the lab, here's the lab. I'll link it to you guys. But yeah, been a pretty good birthday so far. I woke up, cleaned up from the party a little bit, because we had a big party here last night. And then one of my friends is in town for Phoenix Fan Fusion. He's an artist. And then he left this morning. He went out there, and then he just packs up from there and drives back to California. So he's been staying with me. Elnager, when you were talking about Firewall D, you mentioned its backend is NF tables. Also, when I run IP route, it shows your routing table. So are those related? Well, so yeah, they're all connecting to the routing. So the Linux kernel has like native IP routing built into it, and everything that was filtered, so the filters for what we called kernel routing used to all be done by IP tables, but now it's done by a tool. Well, in Rocky and RHEL Linux type stuff, it's all done by NF tables now. I don't actually know if that's the same over here though. Like on Ubuntu type systems, I don't know what they're doing. So I don't know if they're on. I don't know what they're using. They still have IP tables. No, they also have NF tables as well. So when you're looking on a RHEL box or a Rocky box, like my home lab here, that's going to be. Whoops, 5. Let's go check here. There shouldn't be any IP table. Oh well, there shouldn't be any of that stuff. I don't have them loaded right now either. Oh well, this will have it loaded. Hold on. That was small. Yeah, so you can see the NF tables loaded here because I'm running the firewall on the Werewolf box, and then these are the loaded modules. But you don't see IP tables in like modern RHEL type systems. They don't run IP tables anymore, but it looks like they're still there. Well, so IP tables is there, but it doesn't have anything dependent on it, so there's nothing using IP tables in this system. IP tables is loaded as a kernel module though here. That's what LSMod's showing us, but there's nothing using it, right? The NF tables is here and it's being used by these. So, right, these are the dependencies, right? The things that are using it. Because if you ever want to unload, like I could unload IP tables right here and it would unload no problem. I can't unload NF tables without forcing it because there's things using it. That's kind of how you read this like LSMod output. And I don't know what the X tables is or any of this crap, but IP tables were the old way, NF tables are the new way, and it looks like Ubuntu's still in a business of using either of them. I don't know which one UFW uses. I'd have to look. And then, So it looks like they're still mentioning IP tables. Yeah. Yeah. So they're still using IP tables under the hood of UFW. That's the universal firewall, right? That they use. Yeah. Their underlying framework is all IP tables still. So, yeah, I mean, I would tell you it depends. Like, focus on what you need to do. Yeah, thanks for coming by, Boris. I appreciate you hanging out. Make sure you're down in Discord. Anybody that's around Discord, we have a bunch of events coming up, so you guys can always check those out too. So that's kind of good. What did I miss? Did I miss anything? Yeah. So yeah, that's how I would check to see which one is being used in the system. Is I would see which modules with tables in them are loaded up on the system. Werewolf, which is in my environment, it's well, actually I'm on Rocky 10 now for this one. He doesn't have any mention of IP tables in his loaded kernel modules at all, but Ubuntu still does. So that's the only thing I was showing you guys is kind of a difference there. So. Also, for people that don't know, there's the Discord. You guys are always welcome to hang out and do. We're a little over 5,000 people now, so people are hanging out and doing that kind of stuff. All right, so the user has access. We can check this. He was able to create something in that directory, so that's cool. Bob's basically doing the stuff that he could be doing. Keep running, yeah. Yeah, Boris is always around. Boris is pretty helpful down in the Discord too, if anybody ever needs. That stuff, needs to ask questions, that kind of stuff. We try to keep I try to keep the server kind of people can do whatever they want in there, but for the most part I try to keep people from hammering people with if somebody asks a basic question, we try to help them out because I don't know, a lot of this stuff is really confidence, and one of the easiest things to do in the tech world is for people to just bash on the new guy who doesn't know how to ask a question or something. So I try to help out with that kind of stuff as well. Because yeah, I mean, any of you guys ever dealt with a nerd, you know that their first thing is just to go move and then kick you out of your seat or whatever, and that's not conducive to learning. It's definitely not conducive to most people's confidence. So, all right, anyway, so back to Bob. Man, Bob caused all of our tickets on our first day of work here. Here we go again. Bob's pinged us on Slack, right? This is a thing. People will. Oh, did I lose? Oh, what did I do here? Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, let's clear that screen up so we get that out of the way. So Bob's pinged us on Slack. He's wondering if we saw his urgent ticket that he just submitted 2 minutes ago. Drive-bys and stuff like that, very common. No, Bob, we haven't, but we guess we'll take a look. It seems he's lost an important file called important doc, and he has no idea where it's located. He copied it somewhere the other day, but he can't remember where it was. He thinks he may have typoed the path as well. All right, well, we can start from anywhere. We can start in our home directory if we want, but we probably want to use the find command if we know the name of the file. Now, find is only recursive to wherever we start the find. So if we start the find from where I'm at, it's never going to find it because it's down in root's home directory. So I might, and this is very uncommon that you'd want to do this because if you have a lot of storage, you're going to be searching through all your storage. But in this case, I have a very small system. I don't have a lot mounted, right? I can go ahead and find from slash. But again, normally I would tell you not to do that. I would want to know kind of what directory he might be in. And then I might say name, and then I might just give the name something like what he wants, important .doc. And then my system will go starting at slash, the root of the file system, and it'll go try to find this important .doc. Now it looks like this is down in temp 6487. You can also use, there's other ways to do finds. Some people like iname. It'll typically find it the same way. You can do wildcarding. So I could say, oh, I know it looks something like important dot, and then it'll find other things that are like important dot. So this one found an important.js. So that one may be a little bit too expansive for us, especially if I did let's do this one. This will be a mess. Let's say I did import anything. Oh God, that's going to show me everything that's importable as anything that says import, but any of these libraries that come from all of this. Yeah, that's a mess. That's way too much. So my point is, you want to scope searches down to probably what you want, and I'm just going to go something like this. And okay, I found this directory for him, or I found this file that he's created. and it says go ahead and put it back in his home directory. So I may ls-l real quick on temp 6487 important, and I might see that it's a 644 file owned by Bob Blurski. Well, if I as the root user were to copy that temp 6487 important into home B Blurski form, right? If I copy that over there, and then I move into home B Blurski, and I do an ls-l on that file, we'll see that important doc is owned by root with read write. It's owned by the group root of that, and then it's owned, everybody else can read it. So what we would have created for B Blurski it wouldn't be super useful for him, because he can only read that file, he can't modify it. So I can guarantee you, if you just move this like this Bob Blurski guy is going to be calling you back in a few minutes and giving you another, oh, I could read it, but I couldn't save the file. And you're like, oh, God damn it. So what you need to do now, if you're gonna do it the way that I just did it, you got to ch own the file to B Blurski with the group owner of B Blurski, right, in home B Blurski, and then important.doc. And now if you do that and rerun this thing, you'll see that it's owned by him, and you can wash your hands of it. Now it's in your home directory, dude. It's called important.doc, and then you can. I would take this. I would grab all this. I would put this in the ticket, and I would say, hey, it's in your home directory. It's there. Go on about your day. I may even say, and this is where I found it. So you were down in a temp directory. But honestly, if you do that to a user, right, especially a user that's having as much problems as Bob Blurski, he might go start editing over there again. So I would maybe not even mention that to a user. I'd be like, oh, it was lost forever. I might even delete this original one. I'd be like, oh, it's lost forever. Good thing we got it back. I recovered it for you from backup. I don't know. But whatever you tell the user, just don't let the user step on their own shoelaces, let's say. That's not how the expression goes, but yeah, there we go. So, hey, Local Ken, how's it going? I'm just messing around, showing you guys some labs on a Sunday morning, right? Getting into sysadmin stuff. We're using Fisherman's work over on Killer Coda, where there's a user that's just kind of causing us general problems, and this is the type of work that we might do if we heavily work with the users. One, they're probably going to stress us out a lot because they come up with weird stuff like this, and two, you're just going to have to figure this stuff out, but the patterns all look the same. So I haven't even looked at these in a while, but this is pretty much how you do all this. So the main thing was find that, and then that doc. It would be useful if he had given us more to go on, like where he thinks it is, but obviously that user could have used find as well if they knew how to use it. So this is one of the things where we might have to figure this stuff out ourselves. Alternative ways I could think to figure this out is, honestly, I would go on the user. I would su to B Blurski. Su dash, really assume the user. And I would look at his history, but his history doesn't have anything. But I would look in his history and see what he had done on that system and try to go figure out what directories he was moving around in. Maybe if I saw that he does a lot of stuff in temp, maybe my slash for find would be from /temp originally, right? I might change this find a little bit to be like /temp, because again, on a system that's got a lot of stuff mounted, just going from slash is going to be a lot of file systems that's going to look through. So you can also set find to only go to a certain depth. So if I man find and I go like depth, you can set like max depth of you don't want to go way down into the directories too far, right? You don't want to keep going. So Colkiss, yeah, thanks for the happy birthday, man. Hopefully everything's going good with you. I know you guys got that. What are you guys doing today? You're building out the kernel or something. You guys are doing that. I think you are. Anyways. Oh, and I posted these earlier, so if anybody wants to see that stuff. What did I put over here? Yeah, Linux from scratch. That's what it is. I don't know if you guys are still working on that, but that's typically going on Sundays for people. And then remember to check, because we got a whole bunch of events coming up, guys. A whole bunch of stuff coming up in the future. So that's pretty good. LFS say, yeah, nice. Core util. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have tried some of those core utils. You can get that stuff in Rust nowadays. So I know people have been talking like I know I did on one of my systems and we just broke the system, but we did all the core utils in Rust. We went and tried to download it and get that all working, and we had some problems, but there's all kinds of cool stuff going on with that. So all right, so we did our find, and then I think that's all of it, right? So what did we do, right? We updated passwords. User didn't remember their password over a weekend. That's very common. We changed the group ownership of we actually changed a user. We gave a user a secondary group, right? So B Blursky, we put him into a group so he had permissions in that app's finance dev, right? ls-ld shows us the directory, and then ls-l showed us that he could write into that directory, right? So we did all that stuff. And then, yeah, we identified files. We used DU to figure out usage in a file system, but there weren't that many files, but we could do it. We could do that same thing in my home lab in an environment that does have. So I have a lot of stuff. If I CD and I look in root here, there's a lot of stuff. If I did a du-sh dot in here, I would get a whole bunch of things, but I might say, you know what, go ahead, give me only things that have a capital G. And now, so that's gonna only show me those, so that's not super useful. But if I had only had a few things that had capital G, maybe in the first column here, that might be kind of useful. But anyways, yeah. So I don't have anything in there that's too large, right? Any directory that's using too much. So, all right, let's go pop over here again. Pop over here. We just watched that for a little bit. And then, you've been using C code. The Rust ones would be cool. Yeah. I know people sometimes mention Rust, and then I'll go look around on it and stuff. But I've never run any of the Rust stuff in like a actual enterprise. I know people insist they're faster. People insist they're better in all these different ways. I don't know that I have seen that used anywhere in the industry yet. But I'm sure people are doing it, probably especially in test environments. So. Okay, so now we can go drop over into the next fisherman scenario. So I'm going to go back out, and then we'll go into his second one. So this is more sysadmin work, more like what the job looks like on a day-to-day basis. So this is part 2. So you completed part 1. Don't get too cocky, hot shot. These users have plenty more up their sleeves. That's true. Users are always going to use. If you make something idiot-proof, they'll make a better idiot. That's an old saying in the tech world, right? Keep clearing out their trouble tickets if you think you have what it takes to be a real sysadmin. So we're going to try to be a real sysadmin. Try to, what do you say, DAC versus Mac? So are you talking like discretionary access control versus mandatory? Yeah, there's some good, hold on, I'll show you. There's a good write-up on the Rocky site, I think. Do they have it on there? There's good write-ups out there everywhere, like between what the difference is. Right, Unix permission bits are an example, and then mandatory access control, you can't restrict things, right? We tend to use, discretionary access control where I can give you permissions to read my stuff as I create it. But yeah, there's good stuff out there. The technical term, is the Bella LaPadula model. You learn that a lot if you do your CISSP, and then the user access stuff, and then security levels are categorized. Yeah. You read all this stuff if you guys want. And then here's some Mac examples that are out there as well. Yeah, and then so we don't do a Mac implementation typically, right? So anyways, that's something to play with, but yeah, that's fun. We mostly don't think that's so Mac versus DAC, right? If you're talking about those two, is almost always those things are almost always like theoretical in nature, because we mostly have landed on being discretionary within Linux systems. So something to think about there. Yeah, actually, those are all coming. I mean, I got to do all that with my Werewolves or with my high performance compute stuff. But there are some Werewolf labs in the automation course that I set up. We do a little bit. We build some images out. We do some Ansible in there and stuff. And actually, I was going to try to set up some more of those labs today. I probably just won't get around to it because probably just gonna be relaxing for the birthday. But yeah, we'll get around to that stuff for sure. But this one says fix the user's issues and close out problem tickets. Troubleshoot errors based on poor end user descriptions. That's always going to be true. learn about common junior sysadmin tasks, and then have fun, right? And then it says you should have basic understanding of Linux. The hints will point you in the right direction. So let's go look at this lab. The first one, we get that the server is slow. So this is kind of funny. Get multiple tickets stating that our new development server is running slow. One of the tickets mentioned that our old friend Bob Blursky said he was breaking in the new server while he went to lunch. We are not really sure what that means, considering it's a VM, right? It doesn't really have to bake in much. Take a look at the server and see if there's something chewing up all of our CPU. When you find out what it is, kill it and move on to your next task. Well, we might know that B Blursky is a problem, so we might do a PSEF grep for B Blursky. That might be one of the first things I do. And it looks like B Blursky is running a stress test against the CPU, right? He might be doing something. So we see him here, and I might change my grep a little bit. There's a little cool trick you can do. If I want to find B Blursky, but I don't want to find the grep for B Blursky, there's a slight, subtle little difference here in that this first one found the grep searching for itself, and this one doesn't. It's because of the nature of a when you do a character class inside of regex, you don't find the brackets when you actually do the search. Well, anyways, here's the things that he did. He kicked off a stress in our environment, and then he made it stress these CPUs, right? So it's doing something against the box, right? There's actually this high load average. So there's a few ways I can do it. I mean, one of the easiest ways for me is I can just say, I can do this command right here, and I can say PSEF grep B Blursky, right? And then I could go ahead and awk print $2, oops, right? And I can get those, and then I can say something like this, xargs kill -9, and I can just kill all of them. So I just killed all those processes. They're all gone. So I killed everything from B Blursky. Now, you got to think about it. Is that the right answer? Maybe B Blursky was doing other real things on this server, and that may be a little bit more of like a punishment for him than just me cleaning up the scope down one thing that I needed to. So I could have just killed the process that had kicked off stress, but then I might have had these other two still sitting there, so I might have wanted to clean those up as well. But it says right here we could use top, right? We could look at what was using all the CPU, and oops, if we had top, and we would have seen the thing that was using the most CPU. In our case, we went the other route and just said, well, we know B Blursky's the problem. And then we found what he was doing, right? But which he's now doing nothing. So if we check this, it'll clear up. It says that we did it. But I just want to tell you guys, like, if users are doing this kind of stuff, the better thing to do than just kill off their processes like I did is probably send you know, I would probably aggregate the trouble tickets. Say, hey, we've got like a high load on this server that's brand new. B Blursky's running a stress test on the server. Highly advise that we, you know, cancel that, and then, you know, please advise, right? And I would probably send it to my manager because he cares about the usage of servers. I'd probably send it to their manager because he probably cares about what his users are doing, and I would include B Blursky on it. I wouldn't really necessarily, unless we really had to just stop that process, I probably wouldn't have done what I just did there. Also, I would have never done that on prod. Well, and he should have never been running stress on prod. So let me caveat that with I would have destroyed that on prod. I would have also locked the user out until his manager came to my manager and got me to put him back in. Because like you can't be stressing prod guys, right? That's not, we don't do that kind of shit in prod. But this is a dev environment, so we can be, you know, we can be a little more understanding about what the user's doing. Because, you know, things that aren't costing the company directly money, like direct customer facing money, and things that aren't like affecting our reputation and our stability are not as big of a deal. But yeah, I would probably lock that user. If he did that in prod, I'd lock him out. And I'd be like, let me know when you want to talk to the CISO about the violation he just had. But like, you know, like I'm not gonna, anyways, but I'm kind of a jerk about that kind of stuff too, but it's because I don't like people messing with the systems. But all right, so we got that first one done, right? All we did was clear up the user. So history, we figured out what B Blursky was doing. This is a better way to grep if you don't want to see the grep in the command. So if you don't want to find your grep, because it looks like this. Watch, if I just do, if I say sleep 500, right, and then I background it, right, and then I do a PSEF grep for sleep, I'll find the sleep that's hanging out in the system, but I'll also find the grep for the sleep. So I can't kill this process because it'll be gone by the time I go to kill it. So it's better in my mind to do this. And then now I only find the command I'm actually looking for. So it's something to play with there. Can you send a message to a wall or is it not? Yeah, you can absolutely send messages to wall if you need to. If you're an admin, you can always do that. Yeah, like if I was on this box and I could say echo, this is a, or stop, maybe something like this, stop abusing this system or you will be removed. Yeah, you can typically do something like that. And then that'll send, if you're the root user on that system, that'll send it to all the PTS terminals. Well, I guess, yeah, should be all of them. Yeah, should be all the terminals. So, yeah. I send stuff to wall sometimes. Alright, this one's annoying. B. Blursky just pinged us on Slack. He's writing a new script and really needs Cowsay. So if you guys have never seen Cowsay, he doesn't need it. On the server. What the heck? You've already told him that it shouldn't be installed on production servers, but he escalated to his manager saying that you were delaying his project. His manager then pinged your manager, who then pinged you, and he tells you to just install it. So you're like, alright, we got to put Cowsay on the server. Security team rubber stamped this exception request he submitted for installing frivolous software, so we need to install this tool on our system, right? Well, we can do apt search for Cowsay and see if there's a package for it. And there it is. And all we need to do then is apt install Cowsay. And that's going to install, but it didn't ask me anything. So some of you might say, wait, you didn't do a -y. Why did that install? Well, if you ask to install a tool and there's no dependencies needed, it'll just install it on your system. The question, the why that you get sometimes, or it says, hey, yes or no, that's only if it's got to install other dependencies. This command is actually modifying a system. So I don't think you're ever going to see that on a certification where somebody tries to trick you like that. But this command is a modifying command inside of Linux. This is not just like a safe command to do on a production system. Because you're like, oh, I just won't hit yes. No, this will install. So that's a problem. Sauce on the World Cup, hand on the keyboard. I was going to say, I don't even know. Right, highly responsible service owner. Yeah. How's it going, Saint Device? We're just kind of hanging out, working on. I'm showing you guys some of these sysadmin type tasks that Fisherman put together. This user B Blursky's just causing us problems all over the place, so we're just kind of trying to clean up what he's done. So we're going to apt install Cowsay. We've done that, and now I want to check real quick. So I'm going to echo. This is a test to Cowsay, and I want to see that it works. Cowsay doesn't work. So I'm going to tell you, if I installed this and then I tried to use this, Bob Blursky's going to be complaining out the ass. He's going to just be a problem. So it says that the command could not be located. So if I say which Cowsay, I don't see it. And it's because it's not in my path. Right? They put it down in user games Cowsay. They didn't put it in user bin, right? Which is one of my paths here. So there's a couple of things you can do. You could link user games Cowsay over to user, or maybe just probably user bin Cowsay. That's probably how you would do it. Now if I did this command, I've linked it for all the users on the system. I could modify my path, but the problem with modifying my path in the root path is I don't change any of the user's path, and that's going to probably break whatever he's doing. So honestly, I would probably just do something like this. I would make a link. Oh, I should have done a soft link, but doesn't matter that much if it's a hard link or a soft link in this case, because it's the same directory or the same partition. But I could have done an ln-s, which would have been safer, but it doesn't really matter. At the net effect of this, it would work for what he needs it to. What am I missing here? Write is another utility to send a message to another user. Oh, I've never even used write. I just always echo everything to wall. What did I say about the command? Well, Cowsay is a BS command. Don't use it in production. This is just him for showing you the frivolousness of this user Bob Blursky. Let's see. Are there policy changes happening in enterprise regarding people running AI agents and messing things up? Cyber, I've been seeing, so I get it from different directions. I've gotten a lot of cyber um, AI type stuff coming down from NOAA. So I work on the NOAA project. That's NOAA, yeah. Um, so I see government changes and things that they're saying. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty cautious in my environment because we're kind of on the end of a deployment and it's kind of the end of things. In the college world, I see quite a bit about policy change. In fact, you know, if you had asked me 2 years ago, we completely disallowed our students from using anything with with LLMs or AI models to like craft answers or anything. Nowadays, like we just got done with Unit 5. Today is the start of Unit 6 in my college, and we just had a discussion post that was AI driven. So the students had to go and do an AI prompt and get information back and then turn that information from an AI into like an acceptable post, because this is, I mean, this is the things that things are moving towards, right? Like to tell our students like, oh, hey, in the tech world, you're not going to be using these AI LLM agents. Well, you know, yeah, I mean, we'd be doing a great disservice to our students who are immediately going to go out and get a co-pilot or something like that from a company and then not know how to use it. So, Thales had some moose things on how that, yeah. So, I mean, everything's always a changing, and then every time I turn around, people are telling me, "Oh, this is going away." But people have thought that command line's going away since the 1970s. So, I work with a bunch of dudes that are older than me, and I'm turning 45 today. I'm working with a whole bunch of dudes who are way older than me that have been doing the same stuff, right? And then, you know, people are like, oh, it's going to change the way that you interact with your terminal. It's going to change your probably, but I mean, we're still going to be doing command line terminal stuff. We're still going to be, you know, looking at what the system sees and tracking stuff about the system and having to interpret it and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I don't think the engineer job is going away anytime soon. At least that's my thoughts on that. But yeah, policy changes happening, absolutely. The way that we interact with things. A lot of my productivity stuff is Google. So Google has their whole suite of docs and stuff, and everything inside of like the government, we have all of those tools, right? I could build PowerPoints with just a couple of prompts and stuff, but most of that stuff I still have to go modify afterwards, right? So I just do a lot of the stuff by hand. Command will get a hot of help. The tooling actually had a step function. But yeah, so things get built faster with AIs. I think they're great for just getting you little blocks of code that then you just have to modify a little bit for what you want. But they tend to have some pretty good stuff right out of the box. So anyway, so let's keep going on this a little bit. Thanks for becoming a member of the channel, Mike. I don't even know what that means on YouTube, but hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are going through one of our community guys, Fisherman. He has these free labs out on Killer Coda. We have like 100 labs out on Killer Coda, but he put together these labs, and these ones are about being a sysadmin, like what the job looks like and stuff. And in this case, a user just needs something added to a set of servers, so we added over the problem here. And again, Calce is such a nightmare, but this distro uses apt for the package manager. So you know, you do apt, maybe you do apt update, and all that happens when you do apt update in a Ubuntu box is the system goes and checks all of its repositories that are configured and pulls down all the metadata, mainly everything that it knows about the packages that are available, right? So on this system, here's our configured directories that are basically trusted by our system for software packages, and it went and updated them. Now I can say apt update. I can say upgradable. I think it's upgradable. What is it? I have it in some of my other things, but it should be apt. Should be. We don't need to do any of that stuff. It's list. It's list. Oh, I'm spelling that right. But if we have anything to upgrade, it'll show it. Is that updatable? No, that doesn't sound right. I'm pretty sure it's list upgradable. Let's just do apt list. it'll show us what's there. So there's a bunch of crap that you can do with that. We're not really super worried about that. Everything in Etsy apt dot. Yeah, where is that? It's apt. Apt, and then in here, it should be sources.d, sources.list.d. This would be if we have, here's our Ubuntu stuff. Here's our Ubuntu sources configured. So this is where it's reading those things from. Here's our deb, here's our security, and then we have a file here, sources.list, where we could also configure them if we wanted to. But a lot of times this is where this stuff is all set up. Let's see. So we can, let's do this real quick. So if we just did grep, let's more that file real quick. Yeah. See all that stuff with the, let's get rid of that. grep-v ## from the file in here. Do it like this. Oh, we want that. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that grepped out all of the double quotation or double pound signs at the beginning, and that just shows us like that file without all the lines. Because look, normally that thing is NL, oops. Normally that's 52 lines long, and there's a bunch of comments, and we don't want to see any of those comments, so we just remove them all. So this is just everything with the double comments stripped out. So that's all that does. All right, just another way to look at stuff. Just got to think about how you want to look at that stuff. Yeah, actually, I definitely want to get the GPUs in the lab. I got authorized by the wife last year. We didn't have the digit system. And then we were just looking at it, but they changed the name. They changed the name to, what is it called now? I don't think they're calling it digits. They got a different name for it. Oh, come on, get out of here. There's another name for this thing. It's the Spark, DGX Spark. That's what they're calling it now. So yeah, let's see what's the price look like. I think they're about, oh yeah, they're almost $5,000. But I got the approval, so I know I can do it. But yeah, we need to get that. There's a couple reasons. One, I'm almost done with the dissertation. So when I get done with the dissertation, for people that want to, down in the Discord, we're probably going to do our own little research, right? We're going to have our own little HPC cluster, and we're going to do our own little stuff. So that's going to be a big part of that, is having some GPUs. We have a lot of compute power, but we need some GPU stuff for testing, and right, we just pull data sets down, do whatever we want, right? It's our cluster. We do whatever the hell we want in it, right? Nobody can tell us what to do. But yeah, I do need to get that in there. Xshunya, trust me, it's on the list. It's just kind of far down on the list. I'm not working as hard on that as I probably should. Anyway, so here, let's go to this next one. So if anybody's looking, this is the Junior Sysadmins by Fisherman. He's one of the guys in our Discord. He's a solutions architect now, but before he was a Linux guy for a long time. He still does Linux, but he was a Linux admin and engineer and manager for a long time too. Yeah, it's gone up, Xshunya. I think it's about 4,600 now. So, but that's all. Yeah, I mean, it matters. Don't get me wrong. 4,600 is not cheap, but I think it'll be worth it for like what the guys get out of it and what we can do with messing around and researching and stuff. So, yeah, I think that'll be good. So, all right. So let's disable root SSH access. This is useful, right? Security team, and typically the security team you're going to talk to in this context is called GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. They almost always have a direct channel path up into the Chief Information Security Officer, what we call the CISO of your company. This is going to be very common. Yep, CISO, like that. So these security teams, they are like the heartbeat of like security. So they got their little, can I do it like this? Little finger on the pulse. Get my fingers in here. Finger on the pulse, right? They're checking what's going on with. They're looking at vulnerabilities that are out there, published things that are happening. They're doing stuff that like we understand how to fix, but we have to be told about. So I tell people a lot of times when you interact with GRC teams, a lot of engineers they don't like working with them. They're like, they're always making us work. And I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're a necessary evil. They're tracking the stuff that I don't want to go do. I don't want to have to go read all that every morning. Now, do I read security reports and stuff that come through? Sure, if they're kind of like bigger deals. But like all the little noise of stuff, there's always, guys, there's stuff coming out every hour. That's too much to keep track of if you're building stuff too. So it's something to think about as well. Hey, how's it going, Double Nickel? Who is, you know, every time I see your name, I'm like, shoot, how do I know him? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's Paul. I remember Paul. I've known Paul for a long time. But Paul, you also missed this. Last night we had the game truck. So Paul's been over for many of these over the years, I'm pretty sure. But we had the drift trikes. We had the setup going. Had all the stuff for the kids. This is all the stuff for the kids in the home lab. This is the setup with the TV, sodas. We had that's the original, if any of you remember from the arcades back in the day, this is the original Simpsons arcade game. So people have been playing that. That was good, man. We had a fun time. So, all right, what are we doing here? We want to, so they sent over a ticket. They noticed that someone is SSHing into the server as root. Well, that's a problem. So let's just CD back to the home directory. And we can't jump into a server as root. That is a major security thing. That's a major security problem. If I were to show you guys in my home lab here, these are in the last 6 hours. These are all the people that have tried to log into my oh wait, no, hold on. Let me go back to secure. I had messed this up, but secure and then failed. These are all the people that have tried to log into my server in the last 6 hours right here. These are all the failed login attempts. And I can show you a huge percentage of them are root users. So they're trying to use the root user to get in. So one of the easiest ways to protect a lot of this stuff, if you're going to expose SSH out to the world, is just turn off the ability to log in as root. So that's what they're asking you to do in this lab. They're saying turn off the ability to, so block SSH with the root user. So we have to go into etc SSH as a directory, and the SSHD config. So here's the SSH config. That's our client config going out. The SSHD config is accepting of software connecting in as an SSH server. So that is where system CTL status SSHD. Well, I guess it's SSH in here. This is where this is running, is user bin SSHD, and it's going to call that config to find out what's going on. So let's VI our SSHD config, and it says permit root login yes. We can just do something as simple as this. I like to comment that out and say permit root login no. Right? Now, if I just change that, this lab might say that I passed. But I wanna caution you on something here. The lab says it's okay because it's got the right value, and the lab just looks for that value to be in there. The reason I commented this out is because this was the original value and I wanted to see it. Sometimes you'll get to a Linux config, like if I do this over here, you'll get to a Linux config, and let's just cat etc shd config, right? And you'll see a bunch of these things commented out. The reason they're commented out is because that's the default value. So typically, you know, if you do something like that, you'll see, in my case, permit root login is yes on, what server is this? This is on the Werewolf node. The Werewolf node's allowed it, but on my Bastion node, it's absolutely not allowed it. So if we just grab -i root from etc SSHD config, right? It won't be there. It'll be permit root login is set to no, which is what that's looking for. But if you know anything about Linux services, you know that just because you changed the config, you did not change the running SSHD on the server. So the SSH daemon is not modified just because we changed this. So this lab is going to go like, hey, you pass, ha ha ha, good, good, good. But what if I left that server up for 2 months? Did I actually fix the problem? Absolutely not. Would the scans come back and say, oh yeah, Scott fixed the problem? Sure. But is my original SSHD that's running on the server, did it change any? And the answer to that's no. The people can still try to log in and still eventually get in on root on this box. I have to systemctl restart SSHD, or well, SSH on this server. Now the new running process has grabbed that, and no, root's no longer allowed to connect. Now, if you really want to be like all the way fanatical about it, and this is really the way you have to be if you're changing a security policy, when SSH runs and gives another connection into the system, it spawns a forked process that's able to live without the original. And what that means is, if I were to psef graph-i for SSH, this is the original SSH right here. But if I had multiple other connections in here, none of those connections would be terminated. So really the strongest way to do this, and the way that I do this if I have like user connections through servers, is I would restart that SSHD and then I would kill every child process of the original SSH process. So basically all of SSH would get restarted because all of those connections underneath don't have all of those security requirements. And that's the same thing if you go change in if you go to like well, what is that, Etsy, let's go back in here, and then if I were to go to sshd underscore config.d, right, and in here I said maybe, oh, what's my 50, any of these things wouldn't be taken. If I had let me pull up, I'm gonna pull up something that's gonna be bright for a second, but let's go look at our Stig viewer real quick. So here's our secure technical implementation guidelines for like rel 10, let's say, or rel 9. We'll do rel 9 because I know I have them. So let's say I went to rel 9. These are a little bit dated because I haven't downloaded them for a while, but let's say that I wanted to look at Mac. So, and then maybe I also search for SSH, right? And I come here and I say, okay, I'm gonna filter down, guys. Hey, Robodom, how's it going? Thanks for the resubscription. Robodom's been with me since the beginning.
Happy birthday, brother Heptanus.
It is my brother. It is my birthday. That's true. But this right here, this guy is gone ahead and they're setting up Etsy Crypto Policies backend OpenSSHserver.com, and they're giving. Oh man, thanks for that, Robodom. If you guys get a nice little gift sub from Robodom, make sure you thank him. You just don't have to watch ads for a while, so that's kind of cool. Kind of saves you guys some trouble. But what I was going to show you guys is, like, if we wanted to set up certain ciphers that are allowed and certain ciphers that are not allowed, we can do that inside of our SSHD. This right here, you might say, Scott, that seems a little deep in the weeds. This is very much Stig viewer. This is very much for like FIPS compliance and for like government's compliance and systems. But I often tell people, let's say you don't have a government requirement that forces you to do some like locked down, last 2 years of hash or crypto ciphers. Well, that's cool. But maybe you go, well, I mean, if it's good enough for the government, who tends to be behind things, maybe that's good enough for me. This is a great place to start. These things that are going here, the Stigs, they're a great place to start if you don't have anywhere. You're like, oh, I don't even know how to harden a Linux box. I've never done it before. Well, then we start where we start, right? We go find what somebody else does. And there's an old saying, good writers borrow, great writers steal. You take what you need from this and you harden your systems enough, right? So... oh, yep, and then happy birthday. Yep, it is my birthday. I appreciate that. Robodom, always hanging out. I'm trying to think, Robodom, if I'm going to be out there. I just had my buddy from California, and he's going back. But yeah, I appreciate you coming by, Robodom. How's the healthcare industry? You still doing healthcare, right? Yeah, make sure you refresh so you guys don't get ads if you got any of that stuff. So, yeah. Robodom's always kind of helping out around here and keeping us moving along. He's also one of my only mods that actually does anything. I have a few mods, but none of them are doing anything, so it's like, whatever. What can you do, right? So we blocked that. If we hit this, we solved the problem in the server. I'm just kind of showing you guys that there's what the lab accepts, because what you need to do is change that config file, but just changing a config file doesn't actually modify a Linux box. It never has, because we don't run things in real life. Still doing healthcare, yeah. And I can imagine you're out in California where gas is expensive for the most part too. So, yeah. But I always appreciate Robodom. He's always letting people know what's going on around here and stuff. So, that's always good. We're going through Fisherman's labs here, and his labs are just based on, you're a junior sysadmin and you're trying to make it through the day, knocking out trouble tickets and keeping users happy. Right? And that's, as a junior admin, when you first get into tech, a lot of times your metrics that you get judged on are how quickly you close tickets. How much you're closing tickets, how much users aren't complaining about you. Those are the things you're trying to do as a junior engineer. Just KTLO, keep the lights on. Yeah. Ops Dev, this is all I do, man. That's all I do. I show you guys how to do this Linux stuff. I still think there's a good amount of work in it. I think that you have to learn, like nowadays, I think you have to learn the basic Linux, and then I think you need to know, like for high performance compute, you got to know like the components that go on top of it to get into that field. If you're doing Linux and then you know some storage, but yeah, there's a lot of AI coming on top of all this stuff. Yeah. But do they still need us like crawling around building these servers and like building out data centers and that kind of stuff? I think that's also true too. There's a lot of data center work in Phoenix. There's a data center not far from my house where we run all the NOAA stuff out of, and we're going out of the data center in 2028. But it's like we're still. I mean, they still need us like crawling around data centers, right? They don't have robots to do that kind of stuff yet. So, yeah. Thanks for the happy birthday, Cankle Bunny. Yeah, hopefully this stuff is useful to you guys. That's the goal, right? Make this stuff going. But yeah, there's AI coming everywhere, right? I mean, I can't even type. If I pulled up my VS Code and started trying to type something, AI would be like, "Bro, you want to do it this way? You want to do it this way?" I never set that up, right? I never set up my VS Code to autocomplete stuff for me. I never did any of that. It's just like, "Hey, bro, you should write your task like this," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, that actually does look good. Fuck it, that'll be my task for today." Like as it's writing out my Ansible playbook for me, so I think it's kind of nice. Yeah, even though my background is AD, I tend to benefit from your streams. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm trying to show people Linux, man, because I tell people I'm still, even turning 45 today, there's like, I'm still a young guy in my field. I work with all kinds of dudes that are in their mid-50s, 60s. Shoot, I know some guys that are still 70s, like still doing Linux, still doing Unix and just command line stuff because it hasn't changed in 50 years. Oh yeah, sure, new commands are on there. But I mean, it's like every time I turn around, okay, so we're not doing like, we used to do like HDA all the time, like dev HDA was all of our disks. Now it's dev SDA, and I'm sure soon it's going to be like dev something DA, and it's going to change. But the numerical, like the number of the disk and then the partition, well, disks are letters and then the partitions are numbers. That's not going to change. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. And even if bots take over, they're still going to be using that convention. So when you troubleshoot stuff, you're going to do that. Hey, yeah, thanks for the happy birthday. Yeah, and we can retire. Well, Ops Dev, I've been telling people for a long time, kind of tongue-in-cheek. I tell my college students this. I'm like, I'm trying to make you guys so that somebody can knock me off my top spot and I can go retire and do something else. I'll probably just get like a pressure washer and start a pressure washer business or something like that. Yeah, Robodom. Yeah, pretty sure robots would break everything in the data center. Yeah, Robodom, I've been working with... well, we call them robots, but like inside of tape libraries for a long time. And those robots run into each other and crash on the libraries and all that. There's all kinds of dumb shit like that happens. So it's kind of funny. Why the DA remain the same? But it's still, because it's still a disk. So it's typically for the disk. So HDA was the hardware. It was the IDE disks that we used to use, and then SDA was for SATA. But yeah, it's like, why was it HDA for IDA disks, right? Or ID? Well, they were IDE. IDE was the connector type, right, back in the day. But we had HDA was the just hard disk. I think it was hard disk, and then S was for SATA disk. And then I've always wondered, like, because SCSI disks are also being used, but they're, and then also SDDs, but we never make it the distinction. It's all just SDA nowadays. But then you'll get different ones as well. Like I bet these ones are, let's see, I think these are VDAs because a lot of times with virtual. And then if you use my my environment that's going away, which is my XCPNG, they're all XVDA disks, right? Like if you're in here, this is all XVDA disks. So I don't know, at the end of the day, like really the only thing that matters is this is your first disk because it's alphabetical with the A, and then this is your first partition of the first disk, right? And those are numerical. That's really the only thing most people need to know. You always wanted to clean something. Yeah. Here's the Discord. Yeah, and Robodom, did you see we hit 5,000 people yesterday? So our Discord is, we hit 5,000 something. I think we're, I can just go check. Hold on. We're at 5,003 right now. So we didn't want to keep flipping it over because Fisherman fixed it, but it keeps going. That's funny. If people kept crossing it yesterday because they were leaving and coming back, then it was then it kept triggering yesterday. So that's kind of funny. So all right, but anyways, we're doing good on that. That's all coming. Now, we got to generate an SSH key for a user. Now this is a skill that I do think you need to understand. How do you generate an SSH key? Now, SSH keys, I could probably Google right now or ask an AI and find 100 different ways to, 100 different, not ways to do it, but 100 different blogs on how to do this, right? So the knowledge of how to create an SSH key is very well known. But why do we create an SSH key for a user? Well, one, they might not know how to use the command. They might be too terrified to do it because they don't want to lose their keys that they have. So yeah, do we sometimes have to generate an SSH key for a user? Sure. In my environment inside of the government, I control the SSH. Well, me and my admin team, we control the SSH keys for our users. We don't. Could they generate their own keys? Yes, but we push them to the environment for them so they don't need to. But that is one of those things where it's like, well, it's the same thing with like, what's the right time to give your kid a key to the house? Well, is it when they're 14? Well, what if they're not a responsible 14-year-old? Is it when they're like 17? Is it like what is that? Is it 5? Some people might want to give a key to their kid at 5. Well, is that responsible if your kid loses stuff? Maybe you need to wait till they're 8. I don't know. But my point is, that's a discussion you have to have within your family, right? That's on you. How to technically do it, it's easy to go make a key, right? You just take your key down and they make a new one. I have family, so some of you guys might have known, I've alluded to this over the years. My mom was a master locksmith and one of my uncles were. So I learned how to pick locks when I was a kid, which I think is funny. I still teach kids how to pick locks when they come over for parties. I get my little lock pick set out and show them. And I always teach my friends' kids how to pick locks, which I think is funny. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? But that's kind of like what people call like a hacker mindset, right? Like being able to solve things and open things and that kind of stuff. Yeah, Adavirk, thanks for the happy birthday. It is my birthday today. Where was I going? Okay, so let's generate some keys for people. Now, just when we thought our day was over, Bob Blursky causes us more problems. Another ticket pops up. He says he needs to generate an SSH key for his user ID, but he doesn't remember how. Let's just do it for him this time so that we can go home for the day. So generate an SSH key for Bob Blursky. His name is B. Blursky. It should be default RSA key with an empty passphrase. So we're not going to do anything special. Now, we could make an SSH key and go put it in his account, but if he's asked us to do it like this, I'll just become the user. So here's B. Blursky. Where am I at? I'm in my home. Can I go into and there's no SSH directory yet inside of here. So we're gonna just say RSA, so SSH keygen, and we're just gonna generate a key. SSH keygen. There we go. And it says we're gonna generate a key. Enter the file in which you want to save that key. So it's home B Blursky .ssh id _ ed 25519. I think this is actually going to be broken because we need to generate an RSA key. So let's try this. I don't think this lab's going to pass, and then we're going to have to come back and generate the old way. Let's go ahead and just create it with the exact values. Now if I cd to .ssh, that directory is there, and if I look, I see these two keys. But if I hit this isn't going to pass. Yeah, didn't pass because I didn't set that up. That's a more new way to do it. Let's go, oops, all right, clear. Let's check with SSH-keygen -- help, and let's look how we would set this to do the old RSA, because that used to be the default when he first set this up. So we can say -t RSA. So let's go, oops, SSH-keygen, if I could type -t RSA. And let's generate this one, and now it wants to save it in the right directory, so home bblursky.ssh, so that's a hidden directory, id _ RSA, so we're going to do that, leave it all the same. Now if I pwd and ls in this directory, I see those two, and then if I hit check, it'll pass for me, because that's correct. But I want to show you guys something real quick about these. If you're not, good gosh, if I could type, pwd ls -l, each time I did that, move this over a little bit. Each time I did that value, the first one that's now this is the new standard, but then the older standard, which was id _ RSA, we created a private version of the key. The private is like the One Ring. You've got to keep it secret. You've got to keep it safe, right? Keep it secret. This thing is permitted. It's permitted at 600, meaning only B. Blursky can read it. The public version of the key can be shared far and wide. Anybody can look at that. Anybody can mess with that. So what that looks like, if you ever go look at those keys, if I cat id _ RSA.pub, This is the one that can be shared anywhere. I can go put this on any system. In fact, in our Discord, if you ever want to get access into our lab environment, you go into the Prolog lab environment and you do an exclamation mark add key with your public version of your key, and it goes and it drops it into our Bastion node so that you can get into our lab environment. These are all people that have done it. These are all people that can get into our lab environment and use all of our stuff through our Bastion node, right? If you guys have never seen the Bastion process, I have labs and labs on that kind of stuff. But the point is, the public key can be shared far and wide, because you can never go from a public key back to a private key. But from a private key, we can regenerate a public key any number of times that we need to. And I have a lab that shows you how to do that up in Killer Coda as well. So we won't go into that right now, but you can just generate them from there. So then we show it, and here's, it says you need an SSH key generate. SSH-keygen is your command. And you've got, oops, well, we don't have history, but SSH-keygen is the command you need. But it wants to, by default nowadays, use this elliptical, whatever that ED one is. And that's not what we needed. We needed the RSA one, so we did a -T for type RSA and generated an RSA type key, right? Do you do that often for users? No, really not. But you may have to do that for users sometimes, and that's an important thing to understand. The other thing from there that's important is to know how to push that key somewhere. So once you're ready to push a key to a user, you can do that as well. So then you can log in as that user, or that user can log in as themselves to other systems without a password. We used to have to do, it used to be a manual process, but nowadays there's just an SSH-copy-ID. So we have an SSH-copy ID, and then this shows you, oops, -help. That shows you how to push the key over. It's super easy to do nowadays. So, but public versions of keys again can be shared far and wide, and you don't show your private key. Public keys can be shared far and wide. Private versions of keys should never be shown to anybody. If you ever do show it, even like on a stream like this, you should just throw the key away and make a new pair. It's not useful to keep that. Ansible is really good for rotating keys. I use Ansible to rotate keys in environments. You can just go right there's man, like, I bet this thing will even tell me right here how to do it. There, look, here's how you remote go and push keys, right? Look up file from whatever one you're going to use, path to new key, path to old key, and then just go fix whatever old one you want. It's really that easy nowadays. Problem with this in a big enterprise, because you might say, well, Scott, that kind of seems like that would work pretty well or whatever, and I say, yeah, but the problem is with 1,000 servers, let's say you can't get into 20 of them. You need to remediate them immediately, or you're going to be remediating them later. And it's like, it can be, I don't want to say a nightmare, but it can be a hassle to keep track of if any servers are ever down, and then you have to zipper through them and use older versions of keys and stuff like that. And then typically you shouldn't use older keys anymore, so maybe you're getting rid of them. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like that. But my point is, you don't have to, like, we were just talking about this earlier with AI. You don't really need to know much Ansible to look at this and go, shit, I can just go take my old key, use that, and then put my new key here. That looks pretty simple. Okay, add a new one, remove the old one. Okay. Right. It's not super hard nowadays. I don't think it was ever super hard. You used to have to go reference the page, figure it out, and then just keep copying your old code every time. Right? I mean, not hard to rotate keys in an environment. There's a standard on rotating keys. It's NIST 800-57. Right? This is the key management, and sometimes, because I tell you guys, you don't have to follow, like, if you're not on a government project, why would you follow this, right? You don't have a risk management team requiring you to do this stuff. But if you say, Scott, I do want to in my organization, because guys, I've worked at an organization in the last 3 years. This is in the last 3 years, and we had a root key that was over 10 years old. Guys, that is bad, right? And then that's really bad. And when I say that, I mean, because anybody that was ever root that has left the organization could have copied that key, right? Now you might say, well, but they have to have a VPN, they have to get in, and this and this, and it's like, yeah, no, that's true, but you don't get to keep a key when you leave an apartment. You don't get to keep a key when you sell a house. I guess you could, but And then people should be changing those locks, which is essentially what we do when we rotate keys and we push new authorized keys files. That's when we're changing the locks. The key then becomes useless, but again, we shouldn't be leaving that key for everybody. That's not the way. It's not the way that kind of works. By the way, my whole point in bringing this up was I'm reading in dark reader mode. That's why it looks like this. But the reason I bring this up, and I'll link this to you guys, is because if you have nothing to go off of, it's a great place to start. And then if you look at it all and you go, man, some of that's a little too insane. I'm not rotating keys every month. Fine. Do it every 3 months, do it every 6 months, but geez, at least have something. I tell you guys often, when I was growing up out here, there was a place called Charter. It was like this health place, and they used to say on their advertisements, if you don't get help at Charter, please get help somewhere. And that's how I feel with some of this stuff. It's like, you don't have to do this full way, but God, do something. Like, just don't get completely compromised and be like, well, we didn't do the thing that was best, and we didn't do anything else. We did the thing called just putting our heads in the sand and hope it didn't happen to us. That's maybe the worst, right? I mean, I'd at least try to do something to protect my organization and stuff. And if you get popped and you did the best you could, I mean, right? There's processes out there, there's bots, there's everything trying to get into your systems all the time, and they only have to be correct once. But man, you at least have to try a little bit. You have to do your due diligence a little bit. So anyways, this is a place to start. It's something to read about if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. But I think we pretty much finished those labs. So it said we learned how to monitor CPU processes and track down what Bob Blurski was doing. He had stress running on the system, so we killed it. We installed some software. Bob Blurski wanted CalSay, so we gave it to him. But against our best wishes, and we made sure we lodged our complaints. We disabled root SSH logins in the config file, but then I noted that you have to restart that process or you don't make changes on all future connections, and your existing connections do not have anything to do with that new SSHD that's running. So existing processes like long-running users and keep alive scripts and that kind of stuff, they could mean that you're potentially facing violations of something or vulnerabilities from things that are being kept open. So a lot of times we'll have, maybe a hard reset once a month or once every few weeks where we just reset all the connections in the system, and then users should know about that. And then you say, well, maybe a user says, well, you're going to kill my jobs or my processes. Look, in the high performance compute world, you need to be submitting jobs through our job manager system like Slurm or PBS Pro or whatever. You don't need to be doing it inside of long running SSH connections. And even if you had a long running SSH connection, it should still be screened. So even if I kill your SSH, you can jump back in and reconnect to your screen. And you guys say, well, what does that look like? Well, I should not be so married to what's going on inside of this connection here that if I kill it right now, I can't just go here and reopen it, right? So I just go over here, go reconnect back into my system, right? Oh, whoops. I should be able to get right back in there. And you killed the SSH connection in, but my screen session's still running to be connected to, right? So I go here, screen-ls. I need to start using tmux, but that's what's still being used in the government. But here's that same exact command that we were just on, right there. Right? And even though I just killed my connection in, the no-hupt environment still exists in there for me to just reconnect back to, and then from that jump box, that's why it's called jump boxes, because I can jump into all my other environment. That's what most admins use, is some type of jump server in the real world. So, yeah, you're working on your Ansible skills. Nice. We were talking a little bit about how Ansible's kind of the king. But learning Ansible should be a lot easier for people now, where as you go and find tasks that you guys need, the AI and stuff out there will generate most all the code for you. You just really need to be like, well, I want to have my stuff pushed over there, and then I want it to be unzipped, and then I want it to be executed. And like stuff that I show you guys how to do in some of these Killer Coda labs, it's like generating that code nowadays is like the easiest thing. So, all right. No, that's cool though. But busy working on Ansible is still useful. You still need to know how to direct the system to do those things, so that's important. And then we generate an SSH key for the users, which I think is super useful as well. Yeah, AI will make, and then as you find things that you do often, you just steal those blocks from yourself later. If you guys have ever been around when I start up like a new Ansible project around here, I'm always going and stealing my old versions of stuff because stealing is way easier than starting from a blank page, right? It's hard to start. If I just said, hey, we're going to start something, some of you guys were around when we did this, right? We've been doing this big Wireshark study guide for the Wireshark certification. So a bunch of us started, but when we started back in the end of April, we just had basically like a blank page. It was just a blank page, and it was hard to start. So what we did was we said, okay, we'll go get we went and grabbed every bullet point off of their study guide, like the things they wanted you to know, and we turned those bullet points into all the things we wanted to study for Wireshark. So this is our Wireshark study guide for if you wanted to go past that Wireshark certification. And we met yesterday. We were down here in all the TCP/IP stuff yesterday. And then I was adding in, we were adding in stuff as we went, how does an 802.1q tag fit into like a frame? So we were doing all this stuff yesterday. By the way, this is up in the Discord under meeting notes. And then also somebody added this. This is useful because that certification is 1 year old now. If anybody does want to go get that cert, it is $100 off. So instead of being $349, it's only $249. That might be more reasonable for some of you. So that's something to think about. I think that's a good deal. I might almost take that for that. I mean, I don't really get anything out of it. It doesn't help my career any, but I like Wireshark. I think it's a fantastic tool for figuring out what's going on in your system. So if anybody takes that or is working on that, let me know. So I think that'll be fun. So yeah, ops to dev. Yeah, we did a Wireshark thing. This is, and it's PDF for you guys. So I released it as a PDF. It's not a doc. But if somebody wants the doc, I'd give it to that. So yeah. Yeah, Meisterhonk, it's actually cool, man. We hit 5K yesterday, and now hopefully we get pretty far over 5K so it doesn't keep tripping. Although Fisherman said he got that. Is it legal to steal oneself? Yeah, Northern Chimp, it is. So it's funny, if you guys ever do academia stuff, you do have to still quote yourself. Like even if you're the subject matter expert, and even if you have like some referential authority that people are like, oh, they know who he is, you still have to cite your own publications or your own stuff. You can't just say, well, I know this because I know this, right? There are some exceptions where we can kind of say that academically, but almost universally, even when you steal from yourself, you still have to cite yourself, which I always thought was kind of funny. But it also makes sense because like otherwise it's like you're trusting somebody's word as opposed to trusting. And if I were to say like, hey, a home lab works well to be set up like this, and then I were to use the documentation that I created on a home lab, then you would be like, well, now I'm not trusting Scott's word, I'm trusting what Scott can show. And I do agree with that because we always talk about as engineers, the one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Well, if I'm just talking out of my ass, that's my opinion. But if we sit down and we prove, right? If I say this server is some version of a kernel, and then you guys go, I don't believe you, and I say, nope. Well, that's what we know is to be as true as possible right there. We could argue all day if it's a 5 or a 6 kernel, but the system just told us it was a 6 kernel. So anyways, that kind of stuff. Maybe a stupid question. How do you keep this Linux stuff for so long? Any birthday advice, wisdom? I would tell you, try to find something you guys like in there. I always tell people the Linux is like the keyboard. If any of you have ever played music or know anybody in a band, most everybody does, everybody that writes songs and does music and stuff, even if you play guitar or something, you probably have a keyboard somewhere where you can kind of dink around on and mess with. And that's kind of how I feel about Linux. Like, okay, hey, I like Linux and Linux is my underlying thing, but I can also go do storage on top of Linux. I can go do research on top of Linux into, I can go any of you guys probably know this, you can go get into any kind of open source projects right now. And your base will probably be Linux. You'll be playing around on top of a Linux server, but maybe your real focus is like signal engineering, or your real focus is over on security. But everybody I know that does any kind of security, they're using Kali Linux or Bento Linux, right? Those are like the two big ones. Kali is the big, attack red team stuff, and then Bento is big on forensics. What's the other one for? There's another name for that Bento one. But anyways, yeah, those are the ones that I know that people use mostly. Whether you're playing like kind of like a forensics and finding stuff on servers later, which is more like law enforcement stuff, or if you're like poking around on systems and doing like red team and bug bounty type stuff, right? There's that kind of stuff. So yeah, ops. Yeah, hopefully that's. Oh, you're over there on as ops dev. Nice. Yeah. You guys are welcome to watch anywhere, and I tell people like lurking is the backbone of streaming. So even if you just hang out and lurk, you guys are welcome to kind of do this stuff. So, but yeah, man, we were just doing labs, and sysadmin stuff is it's not unattainable for you guys. Also, if you guys didn't know, this is a fun one. If you've never set up like Ollama, we can go mess around with Ollama real quick. Fisherman's got a really good scenario that shows you like the lightest weight Llama server to set up, and I actually use this to set up Llama in my home lab. So I have a little LLM just running. It's one of those I forget what it's called, but we can turn it on and go mess with it if we want. But we can actually come in here, and we're gonna build out a little local LLM, large language model, and ask it some questions and stuff. So we're gonna install Ollama, use it to run Tiny Llama. Tiny Llama is like one of the smallest little LLMs around, and then we can query it via CLI, and then we can query it via API, and then I'll also show you guys how to query it via Ansible if you want. So I have that kind of stuff out there as well. So, oh, I'm lagging behind on the AI stuff too. Yeah, I don't do nearly as much AI stuff as the other, like my contemporaries and stuff. But also, I know 45 is still kind of young in the industry, but it's like, I'm pretty checked out. You know, I can pretty much retire whenever I want, so I'm kind of checked out. So, but somebody also asked about longevity. One of the things that keeps me more checked back in is dealing with my college students. So like showing people this stuff, and also dealing with you guys. Like this makes me go look stuff up. You guys are always giving me links to stuff to go look at. So that keeps me kind of keeps me like I would say like on my toes. Because I joke around about getting knocked off my top position and wanting to get knocked off, but I also want to like be like, oh, I can still kind of keep up with the newer generation, right? But at the end of the day, I can't, right? I can't get into all the stuff everybody's into, but let's play with this a little bit. Can we understand the basics of this? So we're going to install Ollama on our system. There's a script that's out there. Now, before I do this command, right, I can send this command over, or I can type in curl. I'm going to actually just steal the command first, like this. And then I'm going to say https ollama.com install.sh. I'm just going to pull it down first. I'm not going to execute it first. And maybe I'll just throw that into temp, like install.sh, right? And then I maybe just vi temp install.sh. I'll just go look at what's going on in there. Maybe I just want to see. I think background is always already. I think it's already set to dark. Yeah. But I can go see what this script is doing before I ever use it. It's going to find my OS name and my OS architecture. And it's going to look for what type of architecture we have. Or if it doesn't find one of those two types of architectures, it's going to error. So if I, right here on the system, right here, if I do a uname-r and a uname-m, there's my x86-64, and then I go back and I look at this and I go, okay, it's going to check right here, uname-m for architecture, arch, right? And that's going to check it, and it's going to find this, so it's going to use the architecture of AMD 64 going forward in its decision trees. And it says if OS is Darwin, it needs to do some other stuff, if it's any of these other things, and then it's just going to go down through. It says if OS is Linux, it's going to make sure that it's not WSL, then it's going to look at the kernel version. It's going to make sure that we're not on. So if this is Microsoft WSL, so Windows System Subsystem for Linux 2, then it can go forward. Otherwise, it's going to error because it's an older version and it can't work with Ollama. So guys, my point is we can come in here and we can disassemble this script and figure out what's going on if we want to. Some of us, not as interested in that. You can probably even have a bot help you take that apart if you want to. But we can just do the command and curl it as we bring it in, pass it right to SH, which will install it on our system. So it'll go and do the actual work that we just checked out. And so it's giving us a little feedback as it's downloading stuff and installing and doing all that kind of stuff. Do you think I can get a job just by knowing Linux X Core? I am Hyperland, like Rich Nerd. So I would say it depends what you want to do, Fractal Cow. I do think getting into Linux admin work is very attainable for people. I often show this right here. This is my thoughts on that real quick. Hold on. Let me see if I have Linux sysadmin. Let me move this a little bit so you guys can still see what I'm showing. Often I tell you guys when you're doing Linux sysadmin work, this this is what I think. This is what I think it looks like, right? This is called the PPDIOO, which is the prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize, right? Here's the thing. But admins tend to start over here, which is in the operations, the keep the lights on, network operations, security operations, help desk, like running stuff, answering questions, getting trouble tickets in. So admins keep stuff running. That's what admins do, right? And that's typically where the jobs start. If you're not in tech yet, you almost always get in by just like everybody's running along going, hey, keep this system moving, like keep this tire rolling with your little stick and keep it rolling. And then that's your job, is just to keep everything moving. And then as you do that, and as you get like better at keeping stuff running, you notice like the documentation that you're using, and you notice the techniques that people are doing, and you go, you know what, hold on, I know we do it that way, but man, like there's better things online. Like this guy Brendan Gregg talks about all these ways that we could performance monitor, and you start to optimize your system, right? And you start to, as you're just some basic admin at first, but as you start to learn what's going on, you're like, oh, I can write better docs than this. Or you update a doc late at night, and next thing you know, like everybody's coming to you to do that stuff. So you're optimizing your system. Then what happens is management's like, well, we need somebody to deploy this new version. You know, we need to go to Rocky 10 or Rel 10. We don't have that in the environment yet. The guy who built all this stuff before is gone, so we really don't know what to do. Let's give it to Johnny, whoever Johnny is. Maybe one of you guys is Johnny. And then now you're over here preparing and planning and designing and implementing things that you've never done that before. But now you're over here doing what's more of like an engineering work, right? You're designing these things. Maybe you're even doing some architect work, right? Because it's new architecture coming in and that kind of stuff. But to answer that question, could you get into tech? Yeah. A lot of times I tell people that are newer, like go for network operations jobs, running a network operations center. You say, well, but I want to be a sysadmin. Yeah, but sysadmins sit in the NOC, and the NOC is a lot like the best example I can give for people as like what a network operations center is like, if you've ever seen a very popular movie, Jurassic World, and they're all sitting there watching the dinosaurs in all their cages from like there's like a big screen on the wall of all this stuff. That's what most network operations centers are for like mid to large size companies. Another one would be, I guess, like in the Bourne Identity, when he's like, holy shit, that's Jason Bourne, but they're like watching all the video monitoring and that kind of stuff. That's what network operations centers are like. And when you're first getting into tech, I would tell you, just go take those jobs. Find a third shift. It sucks to work third shift, especially if you got a family and stuff. You should do that stuff when you're young. But then after you're doing that, then you get into it. Yeah, Rodon, it's also my birthday, man. I'm doing this for fun on my birthday. But yeah, I would definitely tell you guys can get into it, but just I would say set expectations. Unless you're like an absolute rock star or you have like a degree in a very specific field, you're probably not jumping right into engineering. However, you go in and you work and you really know your Linux and you really keep stuff running, right? Because that's what companies typically hire admins for, is to keep stuff running. Then as you start to optimize it, they're going to be like, well, shit, why would I hire some other person when I've got this resource inside? Why don't we just start having them build stuff? And then you start building stuff and your stuff is stable because you focus on building good, repeatable processes, right? That's systems engineering is about consistency and timeliness of builds. All that stuff can be attained easily with Ansible, Terraform, like the ability to just keep pushing a button and making the same server or environment over and over again. It'll make you really valuable. And you say, but can't everybody do that? I think everybody can do that, but for some reason, like I'm one of the only guys in the industry that's doing it. Or, well, I have a bunch of colleagues that are really good at it too. You'll find your kind of niche over time of what you do good, but I think that you guys can get into this stuff for sure. What certification? You don't really need any. You just need somebody to trust that you know systems, right? I mean, you've got to be able to prove that you've done some systems work, that you can keep systems running. So maybe have a home lab, have some projects. I was showing people the other day, build out monitoring, right? Like in my home lab, right? I show people this. I show this even to like people at work and stuff when we're talking about this stuff. Like I show them this. I'm like, this is my simple way of monitoring what's going on in my environment right here, right? And I mean, I wouldn't pull this up in an interview, but if somebody asked me, do I know how to monitor systems? I'm like, yeah. And then I understand the piece of it. But as a junior, you really just have to be able to show that you know some of this basic stuff. So, and then security operations center, same type of thing. You just got to handle incidents. A lot of this stuff is more about showing up to work and not complaining. And then you start getting up into optimizing. And that's just, optimizing is just not putting your feet up all the time. and doing some work. So, all right, so now we've got this up, and it says Olama will be in CPU only mode. So let's go make sure that Olama is running. So I think I can do a system CTL status for Olama, and I see that it's running on the system. I can also go check some stuff out, ss-ntulp, grep for Olama. I see it listening. It's listening on this system for port 11434, so that's cool. I can reset the terminal if I don't like those lines, because sometimes those lines are annoying like that. And then I can say, Olama run Tiny Llama, and it'll run that Tiny Llama system on this box that I'm running. So, happy birthday. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's, yeah, big 45, right? Kind of old. So... My birth year starts with a 19, right? It doesn't start with a 20. But look, that'll build. That'll come up. And let me find something while we're looking for that. I'm going to go find something in my Ansible code here. I think, and it's from me. Let's see. I think I can filter this by in Ansible code. Yeah. So this is, I'm going to go find my, so this is my little... run. I'll show you guys this here in a second once we get this all running. So now I'm in an Olama, right? I got a little Olama thing running, and I can say one of my favorite questions. Let's see if it knows why. Why is the sky blue? Does anybody here know why the sky is blue? Well, according to me. Oh, it's getting it wrong. Why does anybody know why the sky is blue? Oh, Robodom knows. Robodom's here. Now, how about Robodom? You don't tell them yet. Let's see if they know. Like see some AI workflow. I don't Fractal Cow. I'm like way behind on AI. I don't do it nearly as much as anybody else I know. I use it sometimes inside of like writing my Ansible code. Sometimes. Oh, it's not any of these. Anybody know why the sky is blue? You can look. You can Google it. It's going to tell you stuff like this, and you're probably going to be wrong to me. Why is the sky blue? Frax the ocean? That's an answer. Robodom, will you tell people why the sky is blue? Hold on, let's see. Yeah, why is the sky blue? Anybody know? Does anybody know what I did in the army? There's only one reason the sky is blue. Scattering of blue light. That's a good answer. God loves the infantry. That's why. It's the infantry, blue cords of the infantry, right? So yeah, why is the sky blue? Because God loves the infantry. That's a great old line that's been around. Because light scatter, those are all accurate, right? That is all why prisms exist and light does scatter and stuff. But this thing's giving me some kind of. I was gonna say why according to the infantry, because then it would get it immediately, but then you guys would all get it. Yeah, it's yeah, it's because God loves the infantry. That's old school. All right, so but the point is, we can ask this thing, and it will confidently tell us all kind of things. Some of you guys have been around. I actually have this running in the home lab, and you used to be able to inside of my. Well, actually, it still exists, but inside my streamer bot, you could send answers directly in, and then we would watch the Olama sit there. But it wasn't Olama. The one we used was a different model. I forget what the model was. But okay, we can hit Control D to exit this. It's still running though, right? It's still running in the background. And now we can hit that through the API, right? So we can come down here and use curl to hit our local host here and generate against the model Tiny Llama the prompt, why is the sky blue? So he does the same thing. And now it's going to go tell us that it's generating a response like this, and it's giving us all the individual pieces as it thinks through it. Now, I don't like that because that's not super useful to me. What I might want to do is I can set the stream to false, so I can come up here, and then at the end of this even, I can set stream, I need a comma, stream is equal to false, should be right here. Like that. And now it's going to wait. It's not going to stream back to me, and it's going to give me one big output, assuming it doesn't go over a timeout value, which it shouldn't. That other one only took, how long did that other one take? 24 seconds, right? That other one was 24 seconds. that right? No, that's, where's the response? I should give us the time. But see, earlier it was set to stream back to us. What happened? Last answer, light bends. Oh, can I answer the question? Oh, the answer was because God loves the infantry. And here's the answer right here. Here's it all together. But that's an answer point. You can make a playbook to yeah. So here's my. So I'm gonna add in the one from my Discord. So I'm gonna CD to, let's just we're in root. Doesn't matter. We'll just vi API call .yaml. Let's say. And then in here, let's go grab my simple little Ansible that I wrote for this long ago. Oh, I call it Ollama Reader. Let's go grab my little Ansible, and we'll go drop it in here, and then I'll show you what it's doing. So look at this real quick. It's super simple. Localhost. We're just using the localhost, and then so we're calling from the localhost, and then we're going to call our local API. That's the right port 11434. That's generic port, but we also checked that with SS earlier. So SS-NTULP. And then look for llama or whatever, and it would find it. And then we're going to do API generate. We're going to return content, yes. Our method is going to be post. We're going to give it a 90-second timeout, and we're going to say stream false, so don't give it to us in a stream back. We want it all in one big chunk. Model is going to be tiny llama. Prompt is, what is the origin of Ansible? This one's always wrong, but it's fun. And then register back a variable called Ollama, so give me the variable in JSON, and then just debug the JSON.response. Just give me that out. If we wanted to, we could get the whole thing. So let's do this for 1 second just for fun. Whoops, we're already in comment. Let's YYP, and then let's change this one. Let's just take everything in the Ollama variable. So I'll show you guys everything that's in the Ollama variable first, and then we'll do it the other way. So let's do Ansible playbook, if I can type it out, API call, right? Now this is going to run, apt-y install Ansible, right? Let's get Ansible in the box. We need that, and then we could install that. So if you need that, it's up in our Ansible code section, where you could use Ansible to generate, I don't know, jokes against it if you want to, or whatever this response is, and then use it in our code or whatever. So they'll be using it to analyze. Yeah, and honestly, like most of the stuff that I'm into with the government, we have AI enabled through Google, but I don't even know what that's called. Is it like Google Assist or something? Or Google's Gemini, right? But it's built into all of our stuff now. So like when I do Google chats with people, like it'll try to help me type stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, stop helping me. And then there's all kinds of crap going on with that. So I mean, I have the ability to do a lot of that stuff. I just don't mess it with much. Yeah. This one is here. Hold on. So Ansible API call. So now this is going to go call that, and it's going to wait, and then it's going to dump the whole variable out to us. But then when we just want the text, we'll do that other one. So let's watch this real quick. Yeah, I have no problem with any of those tools. I just don't have any of them set up. You know, any of that stuff. Wendell, how's it going? At work we have limited. Yeah. I figure a lot of companies have something. Some of our software guys were doing other stuff too. Oh, here's our time. We got a 200, which is good. Here's our response right here. Ansible's open source automation tool. Boom, right? Probably pretty good. Commercial release was 2013, I believe, but it says 2010. But it's been confidently wrong on all kinds of other things before, so that's not terrible. But then here's all of our responses. And we don't really care about those because those are just, you know, the individual words coming back to us in a stream. What I really want typically, let's go VI this. We typically just want the response. So maybe we comment this out. And then now we do the same thing, but now we'll just get that little response block. We don't, the whole variable isn't that interesting to us. I just showed that to you guys so you could see the whole process of what information was there, right? RopeDom, I haven't seen it much, but I'm pretty sure people are using it to learn a lot, and I think it's probably really good for troubleshooting. But the stuff that I use is kind of stuff that's always the same. Frequently wrong, but never in doubt. That's true, yeah. And that's one of the reasons we don't point it at anything in production. We will let it answer us questions, but then we'll look at it and go, I'm going to go check that. I'm going to go check that out, right? and then here we go. So this is just the response. Ansible was initially developed in 2013 by Danny Go and Mark Harmon, with the intention of creating an open source on it. See, that's what I know was 2013. That's what I know about it. I started using it in 2014 because I worked on a system where we couldn't use keys and we had to use passwords, and because of that, if I was going to modify like a 750 node it was a FedRAMP environment, I wasn't going to go spend time logging into all those boxes. It just wasn't going to do it. I would have quit. But Ansible gave me an ability to hit all of the boxes with one password login, so I loved it. So yeah. So I'm a big fan. Like this is the output we wanted, so this is what we get. But if something was wrong, or if I don't get, you guys see here, I just get the output. I don't get the return code. But since I got an output, I know the return code's 200. So the other one where I was using this would show me the return code, but it would also show me so many other things. So it really just depends how much you want to debug. And also, you should really debug always with this, which is verbosity of like 2. So now this doesn't run anymore. Like this no longer comes out to the screen. If I run this won't give me any output. It'll still do it. It's still there, but I don't get it anymore. It's going to say skipping. For the printout, it's going to skip. Well, maybe I just need that printout for something. Maybe I just need that Olama variable for something later in my playbook. I don't know. But I don't want it to come to the screen. I definitely don't want freaking users to see it, because users will see that and be like, oh my God, look at all that. That's obviously something broken, and then send you. And when I say users, I also mean like junior engineers. I don't want them to see what's happening in the background if they don't need to. So only for me, when I add VV, -VV to this, will it show, like this is going to go generate that call. It's going to build everything, take its 30 seconds or whatever, and then it jumped the debug. But if I want to add the debug in and print those values, now I can see what the printout is. It'll come up here in a second. So it's hitting our local stuff. Yeah. We're being pushed hard to use AI in every bit of our work in spite of multiple occasions of it. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, you've been around a long time too, Kevin. I know you're getting near the end of your career, but it's like, well, and I say that because I know that he's retiring soon. But it's like we've watched the expansion and contraction of compute, right? And I've been through this multiple times, so I know Kevin for sure has. But it's like, shoot, we need to get everything out. We need to get everything out on like the big on the big mainframe, right? No. One mainframe's too dangerous. We need to expand it out to multiple different systems. Okay. Oh no. We can get them back to a few systems, but now we virtualize those systems. So it's like I guess Big Bang Theory, and then the compression of all things, and then the Big Bang Theory. You know, people that want to go look into that and deal with that stuff. But that's how systems are, and we've been watching. It's a cyclical thing. 10 years ago, everybody's going to be in the cloud. Everybody's going to be in the cloud. Learn the cloud. So a bunch of us, like I was learning cloud and stuff, and it's like everybody blew out to the cloud. A bunch of companies did. Started seeing it was expensive, started moving some stuff back into their data centers. So now, like, there's always this ebb and flow. It's like the sand, right? It's the surf. There's always just surf coming in, surf going out, and it's this stuff comes in all the time. Recently, a third party was contracted to do mainframe operations, trusted AI, but updated firmware on. Oh my gosh! Now, because I've done a lot of tape stuff in my time. I don't advertise that. I don't even think I have it on my resume. But the thing about tape is, like, now once you modify something, you need to make sure that you can test. Like, we're up on LTO 8 and 9 tape. I use mostly LTO 8 tapes, but there's 9 out, and I think 10 are out soon. But I have tapes in my environment that are back to like LTO 6. Some people have them back to like LTO 4. They need to make sure that they can still pull that up, because if you take out an old tape, you take out your old tape library, but you can't bring those other tapes back, that's the same as deleting that data. It's insane. It's like a pendulum, like being decentralized, central. Yeah, it's everything's rocking back and forth, because what happens is, and so you guys don't know, this is the same thing with like junior engineers often. This is why older engineers seem so cynical about stuff, is because we've watched this thing swing. But a new person to the industry jumps in and they see it over here, and then they see all the benefits of the other side, and we're like, guys, the other side has all these cool benefits, but there's a trade, and then we're already swinging back that way because they're an exec, they're like a newer exec in the company, and now we're back over here and they're seeing all the costs and stuff, and they're like, well, we were over there, we can do that again, and you're like, we were over there 5 years ago. But and then so us engineers, we're just writing it back and forth, doing whatever we're told to do. Because like I tell people all the time, I'm not gonna fucking argue with nobody. I'm way too old in my career. I'm way too far along. I don't care to argue about nothing. The only and I tell people my entire career, I've never been in charge of people. I have always been what I mean by that is nobody ever had to listen to me once. I've been the tech lead for the last 15 years, right, on all my projects. Nobody has to listen to me. You just probably want to listen to me because I'm going to give you good answers, or I'm going to try to give you the right thing. So I tell people all the time, like there's this thing called expert authority in a company where the people come to you because they know you have the right answer, and that's what I always try to have. I don't want people to come to me because I'm the one who by fiat tells you what the thing you're going to do is. I want to be like more, I want to be more collaborative with people, but just show them like, hey, that's fine, but that's going to be busted, right? Anyways, I don't know. My thoughts on it. Let's check this. And then it says, look, we deployed it. We built it out in our environment. Some of you guys, if you remember back in the day, I used to run this and then we would get it down over here. We would log it all and then it would come up in Loki. So people would ask questions. You guys used to be able to drop questions directly in here and it would go run through our Olama and it would pop up in a thing like this. And then you'd be able to see the answers. But anyways, you could build your own little local LLM if you wanted to, right? You guys have the ability to do all that kind of stuff. So... all right, that's Fisherman's stuff. If you guys want Fisherman's Labs, they're right here. They're all free out on Killer Coda. We didn't do Sysadmin Part 3 because we don't have too much time. I'll probably hop off of here in a little bit. But and then also, yeah, it's my birthday, so you don't have to get anything, but you guys are always welcome to hang out in the Discord, right? We're over 5,000 people now, so I guess that makes us official, right? We're kind of a big deal. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's that. Also, it's weird that it's not... hold on. Oh, okay, I see you got cut off, Kevin. I thought that it just didn't, I thought it didn't loop for you. So Wendell, thanks for the subscription with Prime. I tell you guys, you can use those anywhere, but you choose to use them here. That's kind of cool. You don't have to watch any ads anymore, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, what were we doing? We were just kind of hopping through and doing labs, looking at what like the sysadmin jobs look like. We didn't go super low level, but we did look at like some very basic things that happen, right? They send you in trouble tickets, you go fix the trouble tickets. This is how we start out. But then later the trouble tickets like kind of keep changing around, but you're still doing the same kind of stuff. You heard it here, it's official now. Yeah, we're over 5,000 now. Man, I remember, and by the way, I joke around about it, but like since I started the server, I remember when the server was just me. But then, you know, obviously I had a bunch of people that wanted to join from the original prologue. And then, man, we were under 100 people for a long time, just kind of hanging out in there or whatever. And then I was like, screw it, we're going to start streaming and get more people doing this stuff. So, because the goal is always just to get more people doing Linux, right? I think that you guys can do this stuff professionally. I think there's a good amount of work for it, even though, again, the work's changing. But at the end of the day, you're just keeping servers running for the most part. And then eventually you're building new servers and stuff. And then that gets a little more interesting, but it's still work, right? Tell people all the time, it's not like this isn't work. You still got to, you know, do stuff. But, yeah. All right. Oh, and then I got my cool little... Some of you guys saw I built some new... Oh, you guys haven't seen this yet. Hold on. Let me put this up. So you guys have seen this guy. This guy's pretty funny. And some of you have been around when I'm using him. And he raises his hand. And he lowers his hand. Also, did my sound short circuit? I feel like my sound short circuited. Anyways, so this guy, you know, raised his hand or whatever, but I made a new one. This guy is just flipping out. I'm gonna use this one when I'm in study mode. I think that's hilarious. So he's yelling at you. Back to studying. Yelling at you. I made this inside of like an Adobe tool. I got some Adobe stuff, so I think that's hilarious. So let's go back to streaming stuff. Anyway, that's funny to me. That's a funny little thing. Put ticket, won't put the actual problem in it. Just wishes and dreams. Yeah, that's true, Kevin. In fact, I've seen some pretty cool things where it's like before you can even put a ticket in, you get you have to like explain it to like a little like thing on the table. Same thing like people that do like elephant coding or stuffed animal coding where they talk to like some little thing on their desk. It's the same kind of idea because so my wife does help desk. My wife's done help desk since like the early 2000s at the school district out here, and she is very Meister Honk. I figured out how to just turn things on when I talk. Like it's just two images. It's a closed mouth and then it turns on the other one when my microphone's on. So it's like the stupidest little thing. But yeah, VTuxer, that's actually a funny way to put it. But Kevin, one of the things my wife says is like she'll just be sitting there listening to somebody explain their problem to her, and then they'll fix their own problem as they explain it to her. It'll be like 50% of the time people are just kind of like they just need to go through it, right? Talk through a problem, and then they go, oh wait, no, never mind, no, I don't need you anymore, and then they like hang up on her or whatever. That's kind of funny. We were at a retirement, so my best friend's dad just retired with 36 years at that school district, and somebody walked up to my wife and goes, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, wait a minute, have her say IMT, this is Julie, right? And then the woman's like, no, that's not it. Then the girl knew her from high school because like Glendale is it's a small town outside of Phoenix, but it's basically part of Phoenix. And she didn't recognize her. Most people that recognize my wife, it's because of her voice, because they've heard her over the last 30 years almost at the school district answering the phone doing help desk stuff. So a lot of the teachers will we'll be in a crowd and teachers will be like, I know her. How do I know you? And she'll be like, oh, it's probably because I'm on the help desk. No, I talked to you. And then it's funny because like she's rude to people, so I'm like, don't get in fights. I'll fight for you, but no, I'm just kidding. But I would, but like she doesn't like everybody loves her, so it's kind of funny. Oh, well, let me show you guys this since I'm almost done. For you guys that missed it, here was what we did last night. So it wasn't a birthday party, right? I didn't throw a birthday party, but we had the big Epic game trailer come over. I do this about twice a year out here. We get the Epic game trailer. So it was 107 in Phoenix yesterday, but as the sun was going down, it actually got pretty nice. It was probably like low 80s. There's air conditioning in there and a bunch of stuff. I don't have any of the pictures in there right now, but I have them up on the Discord, other places. And then we had the drift trikes out, so the kids were all riding the drift trikes around. Adults get on those drift trikes too. I almost wrecked one in front of all my friends yesterday. They were all laughing at me. But this is my drift trike collection. There's my truck over here. And then this was getting ready for the party. I give out little, everything here lights up. Everything here is like just little sets of stuff you can get on Amazon, but these are like fidget spinners that the kids wear as like little wrist things, and then they light up, and these are little rings that light up, and then these are little the kids can like turn, these are like bendy straws, they like pull out, and then those are kind of fun. Kids love those. This was getting ready for the party. All the drinks in there. The wife cuts the boxes up so people know what drinks are in there. I'm just showing you guys stuff. And then this was everybody playing the original Simpsons arcade game. So if you guys ever played the 4-player Simpsons arcade game, I need to get a fourth. So I have an Xbox. I have the original Xbox, but it's modded. So it's modded for all of this stuff. So the guys were all playing that. There's just friends of mine and stuff. And then this is what it looked like when I was getting ready for the party.
Party tonight.
Yeah, it was good. Can't complain. Well, you got to be in Phoenix.
And I hooked up my old Simpsons arcade. Well, I got all kinds of arcades.
I have I have thousands of arcade
You guys remember
games.
the old arcade game?
But that's
We got 31 spots
31 spots were set up.
ready to go.
Oh yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm sure some of my friends do. This was the kids playing. Well, and then what I was saying earlier, I was showing this is this is one of my nephews here, and he's showing the other kids. Because it's an arcade game, right? So if you guys have ever played arcade games back in the day, you just have to pump quarters in them, right? That's how they got the money from us kids. But this game is still based on that, so they have to hit a button, and so you'll hear a sound in the background here. If I stop this, you'll hear a sound, and it'll be like ching, 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 ching. They're putting coins into the system. So then they basically have unlimited lives, but...
Just keep hitting this button, that's your lines.
That's your coins. You're putting in quarters. Oh look, there goes the Krusty balloon. Yep.
So I think you can hear it.
Just keep hitting this button, that's your lines.
That's your coins. You're putting in quarters. Oh look,
Yeah.
there goes the Krusty balloon. Yep.
Yep. So they were playing the Simpsons arcade game, which was kind of fun. So, yeah, it's a fun time though. It's good. Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm probably like the most straight edge guy around, being a Some engineers are less. I didn't even see what Chris said. We had a good time, and Pico showed up. Pico's in some of these pictures, but I don't like putting anybody's business out there. But one of our guys that's in the Discord did show up. Actually, my brother Timodius was there too, so 2 people were there. I don't have any of them pictured or anything, but oh, and then Busted was there too. So if any of you guys know Busted from the Discord, those are 3 guys that are in there who came to the party. I'm trying to think if anybody else showed up, but yeah. Anyway, so that's that's fun. We go ride the drift trikes around. Everybody gets tired. They go hang out in the what's it called, in the game truck, right? And the game truck's air conditioned, just has a whole bunch of games for the kids to play and stuff. So the real thing, and here's the thing, right? Because I have gaming obviously inside. So you say, well, why don't you save the $300 on the game truck and just have everybody play inside? Because it's the peace. It's the peace of when we eat, all the kids are inside and it's loud and it's wild and stuff. We get pizza and subs normally, but then when the kids are all done eating, we kick them out. They all go out front. So now they're hanging out in the game truck and riding drift trikes, being loud out front, and we're just inside chilling. So that's why people like my party so much. It's not because there's games and stuff. Yeah, we kick all the kids outside and they go play out front, and then we all hang out inside where it's nice and chill and cool and stuff. So that's the real secret to the game truck. Because I think about it sometimes, I'm like, I could just buy like a Nintendo Switch and play it on my big TV, but then we'd have everybody inside being loud, right? So it's the piece of kicking all the kids outside that I think is funny. So yeah. I'm sure some people had weed there, but I don't really care much as long as they're doing it outside or whatever. But yeah, this was all pretty good. So, all right, guys, I'm probably gonna drop off of here. It is my birthday. The wife's coming home soon, so I got to figure out what kind of lunch we want to do. Well, I don't have to because it's my birthday. I don't have to do anything, but she'll figure out what kind of lunch we're gonna do, and then I'll be back around. I'm gonna be back around this week. I'm gonna be reading research, so that's gonna be my main thing, and I'm gonna be using this when I read research. This is gonna be me yelling at you. That's so funny to me. I mean, it's stupid, but it's just funny to me. Like, so when I'm reading stuff, I'll just be looking down, and then I'll fix this too, so it doesn't look as bad over there or whatever. But that's funny. All right, guys, I will see you guys later. Take care. We won't raid anywhere. We don't have enough people hanging around, but I do appreciate you guys.